Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now. Okay, everybody, it's Tuesday, and it's a good opportunity for you to get a little extra out of this episode. If we had any one word that could describe this episode for you, it is extra. Why? Handful of things. First off, we have a brand new offer that is good for this week only, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's one level of extra. How do we go up another level? Well, we have our first guest this week is Nate Chagnon, hot off the KBF tournament trail over at Pickwick, and his amazing placing over there. He has one hell of a story to tell, actually. Really, really emotional story. Good stuff. You're going to want to check that out. We've got, a lot of the other typical stuff that you'd expect from the show. We've got a breakdown of what's been going on fishing-wise, conditions. We're going to talk about, there were tournaments had all over the region. Some were brutal. Some people did okay. Pretty interesting kind of the way that things played out. I had some fishing adventures of my own. We'll go over the details there. We've got, Chronic Trips tournament. It's April. It's happening. Things are going on. So we'll talk about all that stuff as well. We also have another guest, a bonus guest for you. We kind of get up close and personal with our intern here at the show, Howie. Now, some of you may have known Howie from previous little clips here and there. He's made an appearance on. We've definitely referenced him a bunch, but now you're really going to get to know Howie. And Howie's special. I'm just going to leave it at that. Howie is special. There's a whole lot of great stuff coming up, guys. Go ahead, grab yourself a hot cup of coffee, some sort of a tasty beverage, and enjoy this one because it is chock full of value for you guys. That's what we do here at Jigs and Bigs. We do it for you. We do it for you. We do it for you. We do it for OGO. We do it for TBO and the Hookset Hoodlums, and we do it for the whole fam. Jigheads, thanks for being part of this, guys. We will see you in a bit. Don't go too far. We'll see you. Alrighty, guys, man, it is the Mondayest of all the Mondays that have ever been. I am telling you, spring, I've been saying it for weeks now, spring has sprung, but my sinuses have confirmed it. It's happening. My allergies are killing me. I have periodically, throughout the setup of this episode, I've had to stop to sneeze and blow my nose and stuff, so I apologize for that if I maybe seem like I'm coming in and out, but that may be part of the reason, but spring is here, man, and this week coming up, I think, is going to have a huge impact on the quality of fishing, with the temps being the way that they are and how stable the weather system looks for this week. Knock on wood. I say stable, and I'm careful about saying that in New England because I've been burned by that word too. I've been burned in New England. But Sean, how you doing, dude? How's things?
Well, I'm much better than you allergy-wise. Mine will probably hit in a week or two, but you look like you're going through some awful level of hell that I want nothing to do with, but I know is coming my way. So I feel for you. While the intro was playing, which for our for those of the folks that are listening out there that are not paying Patreon patrons, I went ahead and talked over a commercial that I didn't know I was able to talk over a couple minutes ago. So this is actually take two. So I've really just I've seen the dumpster fire that your Monday is with your allergies and everything else that's going on, and I went ahead and took a leak on it.
Well, you tried to extinguish the flames, but you drank a bottle of gasoline before. It's okay. It's all right.
And now all we smell is burnt pee. I do have something that's going to change your complexion just a tad, just a little silver lining for this Monday.
Fire away.
While we were playing the intro music and you were doing your talking, I was, of course, on mute this time. I happened to jump onto the Jigs and Bigs Instagram account.
Oh,
page.
yeah.
I have a very important number for you. It is 9995. We are five people away from 10K.
Now, before we went live, I had seen it was 9,990. And you earlier today had posted when we were at 88. So it's slowly getting there. I'm going to call it like it's happening. Like we're officially at 10K. I'm going to call it.
Do you think we could actually see that magic number by the time this recording is over?
It is highly possible. It is highly possible. We've got a lot of support. We've had a lot of support from, obviously, the entire Hookset Hoodlums fam, our fam from OGO, Three Bells Outfitters. Obviously, they've been really, really helpful. But also, we've had a lot of support from Todd Grubbs has been helping, trying to get the word out. 603 Bass, just recently actually messaged me. Plus, there's sort of a rate of growth that we've kind of fallen into with Instagram. So this is a really good thing. I'm super humbled, like super, super humbled. This is really, really big for the show and for you and I. So thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate you. This is big.
I'd like to update that number. We have a running total of 9996. Look, I'm just going to let you know, we get 4 more followers. You're going to be really upset with me because you're going to lose all audio because I'm going to get an erection so large the table's going to flip and throw all my recording devices everywhere. So, smile and just cut me out of the rest of the show. Don't bother sending me another link.
Take your time. Yeah. Come back to the show. I'll grab the reins and make it happen.
You're gonna hear woo crash.
There is one thing, though, that is really super unique about this program that we're doing right now, this show that we're recording. Not only the two guests is super cool, and it was one of these things where we recorded a great segment with Nate. We wanted to get him on ASAP, so we bumped him up a little further in the schedule to make that happen. But, this week we're featuring an interview with our intern, Howie, which I want to go ahead and preface this, that our listeners or our jig heads that are tuned in right now on this unlisted YouTube link that are watching this, they won't see this until the finished product is actually in the podcast. There's nobody wants to see how the sausage is made. You know what I'm saying? That's probably a terrible analogy to make when we're talking about Howie. But you'll understand when you listen to this. You'll understand why I go there. But I do want to say there's one thing gleaming that is amazing. And it's our good friend Cody Jennings had actually hit us up. Cody Jennings is from Jig Masters. He hit me up at the end of last week. And he's like, man, I got an idea. He says, why don't we do something special just for Jigs and Bigs listeners? And I was like, all right, cool. What do you have in mind? I was just kind of seeing where he had. So he put together a really good offer, and we're using a promo code good for this week only. So it starts today, Monday the 5th, and when we're recording this, and it goes until Sunday the 11th. And it's a 20% savings. You can save yourself 20% off all your entire purchase at jigmasters.com. If you use the code, and I love this, use the code ROASTBEEF. One word, roast beef. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a gist of what this is all about. I'm going to play this spot now. Our mics will be live, so we're going to shut up and just let this kind of play. All righty, here we go. If your tackle box is looking a little light and you could use some upgraded gear to get you ready for spring and summer, look no further than jigmasters.com. Jigmasters is a local Midwestern lure maker specializing in pro-grade, tournament-ready tackle at a price any weekend warrior can afford. Head over to jigmasters.com where you'll see the full lineup of flipping, football, and finesse jigs, spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, swim baits, plastics, terminal tackle, and so much more. From revolutionary head designs to the highest quality hooks and components to their amazing attention to detail and quick shipping, Jigmasters has what you need. And this week only, just for Jigs and Bigs listeners, you can save 20% off your entire order from Jigmasters.com by using the code ROASTBEEF at checkout. That's right, 20% off all the jigs, spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, plastics, and more your little heart desires just for listening to Jigs and Bigs. So head over to Jigmasters.com and be sure to use the code ROASTBEEF, all one word, at checkout and save 20% now. Offer only valid Monday, April 5th through Sunday, April the 11th, 2021. That's a pretty good deal. 20% off everything at Jigmasters. That is a killer deal. There is some good stuff over there and really, really unique baits to check out. So I'm very, very excited. Can't wait to go and fill up my cart over there and use that promo code to check out. And I believe that Jigmasters is going to be in some local retail stores near us shortly, which is pretty cool. Very
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, good stuff. So let's dive into this. I know that we have April. April is big. April is really big for events going on. People are getting really hyped up about fishing. More people are getting out on their boats, on their kayaks. A lot of people on the banks doing some fishing, getting out there. But tournaments are underway. Like this was a big weekend. Wachusett Reservoir opened this weekend. We had the first Slay Nation tournament this weekend. Sean, you were in this was the Catch 'em All, right? Spring brawl.
Yeah, I'm in full tournament mode. I mean, my tournament season, and generally, I think a lot of the tournaments in New England run basically April 1st to Halloween. So April Fool's Day to Halloween, that's pretty much tournament season. There's always like a cold water one or two thrown in, but that's the bulk of the season. So yeah, I had 3 little mini fishing adventures last week on. What was it? Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think I went out again. I didn't get anything big. I was out, I started using the Slayer for pond hopping because I found that going back and forth between my Ultimate and the Slayer was kind of a pain in the ass moving gear around. So I said, fuck that. We're KISS, baby. We're just going to go with the Slayer. We're
Keep it simple, Slayer.
Yeah, so,
Keep it simple, Slayer.
Keep it simple, Slayer, man. That's it. So I went out a couple local places. One place I got skunked at, and another place I caught a few little fish real quick. Wind was bad, so I wasn't out for very long. It was one of those trips where it was in between dropping the kids off at school and picking them up after school. So I had 3 hours, 2 hours on the water, something like that. And the conditions weren't really favorable. It was bluebird skies with wind, so I got, I did what I had to do. Got a couple bass at the end. I was good. The skunking was at up in the Berkshires, up the Shears, and the lake I went and fished at still had, I don't know, an eighth of it or more covered in ice. So I literally had icebergs going by me while I was fishing, which was just bizarre. But I really want to fool around up there with the electronics on the kayak because I think it's very important where I was at. So I tried that out, and then what are you going to do? Yeah. Then we had some fun. So Nelson and I decided to fish the Catch 'em All Spring Brawl together at the same lake because we went traveling. It's not a trail stop, so in my mind that's a little different where obviously you can't tag team up. If anything, tag teaming a lake in a Catch 'em All brawl, whether it's spring or fall, is actually a detriment to the anglers because now you're splitting the fish between the two of you.
Yeah, that's true.
So this was more of a get out, have some fun. We're traveling out to Cape Cod, grab some lunch. There was a chance a couple other people were out on the Cape that day too, and we were going to meet up for lunch. That didn't end up happening, but we had a good plan. So Nelson crashed at my house on Friday night. We were up at 3:00 Saturday morning.
I realized that. I was texting you from trivia, like just little bits about the show on Monday or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got to get up at like 2:30 or 3:00 in the morning. I got to shut up.
Yeah, we did what we could. So we got up, we got out, we got to the Cape, we got to our body of water by, we got there a little late. We got there by 7, and we were supposed to have checked in between 7 and 7:30. And then when we got there, we realized with of us having the same service carrier, he had problems checking in. The first step when you get to your lake, there's a check-in button saying on the water. We couldn't do that. Nelson found a sliver of signal out in the middle of the lake. I found none. I ended up having a, I don't know if it was at that point negative G signal. I don't know if it was smoke signals. I don't know what I did, but I ended up managing to get through to Ken, who was obviously the director for that tournament, and said, dude, I can't check in. I can't turn in fish. The app isn't coming up. We're using Fishing Chaos. It was choking on itself completely because apparently that app needs to tap the internet. So that might be something to look at going forward. Again, this is a first year for this app with MAKB, so we're learning all sorts of new things about it. But I was able to find a little bit of signal in the middle of the lake. I checked in, and then I saw you know when your phone's looking for signal and it just dies?
Yeah.
So I had 100% at 7:30 when I got in the water. At 9 o'clock, I was down to 60%. So
wow.
My phone was so I had to turn my phone off until I caught fish.
Yeah.
I just left it off. So this body of water has a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, ponds connected to it by small waterways. So we can navigate that and get onto the different waters. As long as you don't get out of the water, get out of your kayak, you can make your way into other water bodies. So like, if a river has a small, pond or cranberry bog or some shit attached to it, you can get in there with your kayak and get in there. So I actually went. On. Yeah, Nelson went to the main one we threw in on. Nelson started there because that has a large population of smallmouth, and then the smaller ponds connected and the water bodies connected have largemouth and chain pickerel, and there was a pickerel lunker, which I'm glad I put in on. So I went up into the smaller ponds and said I'm going to go with my northwest theory of the northwest is always the quickest part of the water to warm, and that's where the wind was out of, so that was going to help it. I went up there and I got one bass real quick on a chatterbait, a little small one, it was about 13 inches or 14 inches. Had another one swipe at the chatterbait. I moved to another smaller pond that was connected, and that's where I started having some luck. So there I hit, I hit 4, what I finished with? I finished with 7 bass. So I caught one of the other ponds. So 6 of them came out. 6 of the bass that I turned in, or 5 of the bass, all the bass I turned in except for 1 came from that middle pond. And then I ended up getting a pickerel, a big pickerel.
Yeah, a big one.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a 24.5, which won the pickerel lunker, which was awesome. But the thing, and I called you about it after on the way home, that was so unusual about this pickerel. This was very, very clear water. The weeds hadn't grown up yet. And I was throwing a jerkbait, a 90-size jerkbait, and the pickerel absolutely crushed it. But what was weird, on the way back, I had 2 like 15 or so inch largemouth going after it, trying to steal the lure from him. Now, I've seen that with smallmouth. I've never seen largemouth get that aggressive where they're fighting over a lure that another fish has. Huh. That was kind of bizarre. Yeah, I've just never seen that.
And that's just a really small size too. So it's not like it was like this giant, bait that was easy to see.
Yeah. We had bluebird skies and it was clear water. I downsized immediately.
Yeah.
Like there was no joking around. I was like, okay, these 110s that I got, they're not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I mean, so we ended up, Nelson was actually getting slivers of service here and there. He was just getting a little bit, enough to, tap into the app and get the standings downloaded. So he was kind of feeding me standings every now and again. And again, we weren't out for, I was definitely in tournament mode. I'm always in tournament mode, but there's a realization that, number one, I started an hour late. Like right off the bat, I get in the water and somebody else was already topping 100 inches. Like,
wow.
What can you do? Yeah. But what happened was that was the extreme end of things.
Yeah.
We had 35 anglers in. Only 20 of them caught fish. 2 guys ended up getting DQ'd, which I can talk about in a second, which was just an unfortunate thing, but it was a rules thing, so you got to do what you got to do. And out of the 20 that caught fish, only 9 got 5 or more, and I finished 8th.
Wow.
So I finished 8th with the pickerel lunker, and it was a rough day. I mean, the conditions were not conducive to catching fish. And anybody that fished west of Worcester, I mean, I pray for your soul that day. I don't know what you did, but it was rough. So all the fish were caught east, I believe, east of Worcester. So we got back at 2 o'clock. I said, you know what? I'm not dicking around with this signal. So Nelson was lagging behind me a little bit. He fished a little longer. I brought the boat in, and the place was deserted. So I jumped out of the boat with my cell phone and the keys, ran into my car. I ran in my truck, drove all the way out to Route 6, where I got a signal which was sparing where I was. and downloaded all my fish, which 5 fish, because of the signal strength, took me 25 minutes, or 6 fish. It was the 5 bass and the 1 pickerel.
Holy crap.
So I basically spotted everyone I fished with 2 hours, because I only fished for 6, because I left at 2, and actually a little bit before that because I had to pedal all the way back in. And I still finished 8th. I'll take that. That was brutal.
Oh, yeah.
I only fished for 6 hours. Everyone else got 8 in, and I was getting hits at the end of the day too. I saw the weirdest thing. So when I say like fish will always gather in the cold water to a certain point in the north, the northwest corner of this pond was barren, but there was a little bit of weed growth. I went over a school of bass and perch ranging in size from 8 inches to probably close to 20. There was a couple big ones in there, but it was so clear down to 8 feet I could just see them. It was like if you passed over bait fish, but they weren't bait fish.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And they were just warming up. They weren't over the top with biting. I would get a little one. And the last 2 I caught were 10 inches. They're fucking nibblers. So
it's always the fucking nibblers. Always.
So that was Saturday. We packed up. I came back once I put those fish in. Nelson was waiting at the ramp, and Nelson had a story, and he's shaking his head. He goes, "Did you see somebody driving away from the ramp?" I said, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "Well, I was a little bit away from your boat. I was pedaling in, and there's some guy down by the boat." And he goes, "I start yelling or whatever. He's getting his attention or whatever." The guy looked up at him or whatever, and I guess Nelson ended up scaring him or something. So he's like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" He's walking around with a paper bag. He doesn't know what's going on. A couple minutes later, the guy's kids get out of the car. He was putting Easter eggs everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was
awesome.
That was a good one. Yep. So we packed up. We ended up going over to Max in Chatham, where we were hungry, and I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" Because Nelson usually gets this seared tuna sandwich or grilled tuna sandwich. It looks phenomenal. And we both soups because we were cold. So I got a clam chowder, and he got a fish chowder that was what the hell was it? It was forgive me, Nelson, if I screw this up, and forgive me, Max of Chatham, but I think it was cod, haddock, and then like a broth with tomatoes in it.
Oh,
so like
right.
a clear broth with some whole tomatoes or some diced tomatoes or whatever. So he loved that, and it smelled great. I was like, wow, I should have got that. But I knocked down the clam chowder, and then we just split a giant order of fried whole belly clams.
Yeah. No,
Dude.
there you go, man. Oh,
dude, it was killer. So
I have a whole belly clam trick that I do with my wife. So my wife will often suggest, like, "Hey, why don't we split some fried clams?" She does not like the whole bellies at all. She's a strip girl. I'm like,
okay,
and I'm all about the whole bellies. So I'll order the whole bellies, and I'll play like I forgot. So this way, I can just get her some strips, and I can keep the whole bellies for myself. That's like the best thing in life, man. The whole bellies. They're so good.
Thankfully, she doesn't listen, right? Because you just blew that one up.
Yeah, no. She doesn't listen at all. And I pay the check anyway, so really, it's all good. But, I can make it seem like it's an honest mistake. Like, oh, I can't believe I forgot. You don't like the whole bellies. What's wrong with you? I'll take
Yeah.
these. Oh.
Oops. But so that was our day. And we were going to stop at another lake and scout it, but having been started at 3:00 in the morning, and Nelson ended up getting to my house late on Friday night, we called it. We were just gassed. So we drove home. I had a project that he's helping me out with. It was kind of minor, and I ended up just saying, "Dude, let me borrow your tools. You go home and sleep. I'm going to bed." God,
It's smooth.
bastard. Sorry, I know. I turned it on Do Not Disturb, and the only thing that gets through is phone calls, and I hope that wasn't like an appointment with VA or some shit, because that's bad. Nope, good. I don't know who it was, but they're no longer my friends. So, yeah, that was Saturday. I ended up getting out on Easter too, which was
really?
good.
Nice.
And this is going to be a little two-parter. So, Sunday morning, I had contacted Andy Quinn to see what he was doing in the afternoon.
Yep.
I was planning on going out a little bit with the kayak just to a local pond, and there's a local pond near to the local pond that has a boat ramp, and it's public. And I said, "Andy, are you doing anything this afternoon?" He said, "I am absolutely not, sir." And I said, "Would you like to fish?" And he said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So we went out there, and we ran some lipless crankbaits, another clear pond. The weed growth wasn't up yet. Ran some lipless crankbaits, got nothing. So I said, you know what? This little jerkbait I got worked so well for me yesterday.
Give it a shot.
The conditions are somewhat similar, obviously. Yeah, a little cooler water. So I ran that. Now, the tragedy of this is the jerkbait in the particular color I used on the Cape, I broke his lip. So I have 2 of those, now down to 1 in that particular pattern. But I did have another pattern. So after I got on fish, this little jerkbait, I had the other pattern. I said, dude, this is all I've got. Try this one, because Andy didn't have a jerkbait of that style.
Yep.
He put his on, and he loaded up and started chipping away at the Chronic Trips tournament, because Andy, surprise, didn't tell me. I didn't see it till I looked up the participants to start my database for tracking. Andy jumped in on this.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Nice. That's huge.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was able to, he was able to land. We were all over. It was tiny fish yesterday, but we ended up getting. I needed any fish for the NE5 over 8 inches, minimum fish.
Yep.
Just to get 100 inches, and I was like, all right, I'll do that. And dude, immediately when I submitted that fish, Andy and I started laughing because I got horrible text message from Mark Huard, who was also on the verge of doing it, but apparently was not fishing.
That is awesome.
So sorry, Mark. Gotcha. That was pretty funny. But Andy ended up getting I don't know, 4 or 5 total mini pickerel, under 15 inches. I ended up getting a bunch of pickerel, but the prize of the day was I got a legal crappie, so that was fun. I haven't done the points on that, so we'll get there.
Nice.
As far as Chronic Trips goes, though, I'm going to do the standings first, okay? And this is very, very brief because this is up to yesterday morning at about 11 o'clock, okay? Everybody who caught fish yesterday, I know Nate Chagnon put in a bunch of fish yesterday afternoon.
Yep.
I didn't have a chance between the Easter party I went to and then the fishing, and then this morning I didn't have a chance to catch up. So the standings are as of yesterday, okay? But I'm expecting things to change when I do the standings up.
Yeah, of course.
So let's talk third place. Right now, as of yesterday, Mark and Nelson were tied in third with like 8 points, okay? Mark, as usual, trout, I just punching trout, beating them up, throwing them in the trips, and that's how he rolls. Nelson had a largemouth and pickerel combination. They both had the same amount of points. I was in second with 9 points, 1 point above them. So that's nice and close. Nice tight race we got there for second place. And again, that was based on my Jagundo pickerel and a bunch of bass and pickerel that I threw in the 85. And then, again, I haven't counted that crappie yet, so I don't know where I'm at.
Yep.
Here's the story of the first week. Teddy Forget.
Yeah.
Is this tournament, designed for him? I mean, this dude is a multi-species fisherman. And he pumped in the first carp we've seen in the tournament, I believe. All right.
Yep.
33-inch carp, state pin. Great job, Teddy. You want to hit that applause for him, Bobby?
Absolutely, dude. Teddy's killing it.
Now, so his head doesn't get so big. All right. The way Teddy's putting fish in, have I told you what I've been? Our interchanges on the texting device have been?
No, you haven't gone over this yet.
No. Oh, okay. So
yeah,
Teddy's catching a lot of different species. All right.
Oh yeah.
And as we know, what we've really, has been the selling point for this tournament is that we want this to be a tournament for beginners. So that way, if you're at this level comfortable and you want to fish Chronic Trips and maybe the jigs and bigs consideration, that's fine. The jigs and bigs is going to be a little stricter, but you have a baseline here. Maybe if you just want to stay with Chronic Trips, that's fine too. But as far as tightness and really, how am I going to put this? As far as how I'm willing to work with someone, I'm willing to work with a beginner a lot more that's jumping in on this Chronic Trips. If they're having problems with their pictures, if they're doing something that might not be accepted at another level, I'll explain to them what they're doing wrong or what's going on. Like, hey, you can't do this anymore. With Teddy, there were 2 things that now he's a year in, so now I'm going a little further and busting his balls with it.
Sure, yeah.
So there were 2 pictures he submitted of his fish. He has a smallmouth bass that was gorgeous, 18-inch smallmouth, and he's kind of got his hand over the tail, kind of pinching it. It's okay to pinch the tails and then remove your hand, but there was and I told him about this, so the reason why I said, dude, I'm counting this fish. I know Teddy's not trying to pull a fast one. He just had his hand on the tail.
Yep.
You could pay to pinch the tail and then move it. I'm cool with that. I do it as long as your hand is not pinching it. The reason that the hand cannot be on there was a eating incident, I don't know if it was last year, a couple of years ago, in one of the major tournaments where some dude would carry around a cut off largemouth tail with him. And he would put his hand over the tail and stick the tail out, extending the length.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That dude's banned from competition forever.
Yeah.
So I told Teddy, I'm like, dude, that's a great smallmouth. Just remove your hand once you pinch the tail.
Yep.
Remove it. Because we don't want to go down even thinking about that path. It's pretty obvious that he's not, because his fingers are spread up open. You can see the back of the fish.
Yeah.
But just to remove all doubt, I said the fish counts. Go ahead.
Going forward, you want to remove any potential like questions or anything like that. Keep it, make sure everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does happen where you have a lot of competitors that are fishing, tighter, tournaments where there's not as much give. And those people will have contacted me and said, hey, what's going on with this picture? What's going on with this picture? And I always have to explain. They did something that may not be right in another league, federation, division, whatever. I spoke to them. I told them what they were doing wrong, and this correct it going forward. And then I said, if you do it again, I have to dismiss it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, Teddy did that. Then he left a bass with its mouth open. I said, come on, Teddy, you're better than that. And I said, I will make you into a competitive fisherman if it kills me. I said, next time you do it, I'm going to deny it and you're doing push-ups.
What a douche.
And then, of course, I sent him this little gif of a lizard doing push-ups, and he's like, I don't think I like that. So that was good times. Yeah, let me take a sip of coffee here.
I'm going to jump in because
I myself for this.
I had a little chat with Teddy earlier, and he brought up a really good question regarding our tournament in May, the Jigs and Bigs tournament that's happening in May. Which, I mean, by the looks of things, by Instagram standards, pre-registration links should be no problem to be sharing. To get that. So we should have huge numbers for this tournament. But he asked about age restriction for our tournament, and the reason is that. Teddy, apparently Teddy's very humble. He gave some credit to his younger brother, who is like the fisherman that showed him all like everything he knows, like that kind of thing. Really like laid out the example. We're not doing any kind of an age restriction with our tournament, correct? We're leaving it basically all ages.
No. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Younger anglers should be aware with us.
Well, and that's kind of what I figure is like if they're listening to our show, really, that's the biggest problem in their life, not so much our tournament that we're going to be putting together. But
and they'll confirm that when they meet Howie.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Yes, indeed. But yeah, so Teddy had asked about his younger brothers jumping in and entering the tournament as well. And I told him, I said, I'm fairly certain, but I go, let me just double check with Sean. So Teddy, the Forge It boys are in. You guys are good to go. So that information will be coming out very, 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 very soon. Nice sweatshirt, by the way. I did notice that. I did notice. So there's that going on. Now are you properly fueled up with the coffee to go ahead and into this next portion here, Sean? Because I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah, this was a rough 24 hours for me as a director. All right, so there was a submission that came up yesterday. It looks like it was submitted on Saturday, and I saw it yesterday because there are some days I will check immediately when I get home from whatever I'm doing, and before I go to bed, I'll do any confirmations. And I say confirmations because in the year or so I've been doing this one, June, did I start the June one or it was August?
I think you started the August
6 months.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we did the June. I was not directing for Chronic Trips, and then August I started. Okay. But I have been competitive fishing for 5, 6, whatever years where I don't know, however long. So I understand, CPR wise, it's been like 3 years, but whatever. I think I had to deny one fish in August or October because it was a completely blurry picture. And I was like, I can't do this. And I tightened up the rules going forward.
Yep.
No more problems. So yesterday I received a series of pictures of a 20-inch largemouth, a purported 20-inch largemouth. I don't know because the contestant actually had someone else take the pictures standing in front of the bump board. So you couldn't see any of the lines. You couldn't see any of the numbers. It looked like a hell of a fish, but it left me nothing to judge.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to kind of air this out as to what I did. I was very polite, as professional as I could be, and said, look, I've got to I can't do this because it's really, that looks like a great fish, but I have no way of telling if it's 20 inches or not. Not that I'm calling the person a liar, but I have to have verification. So I was very polite and I said, I can't do anything with this. And then, said, please, going forward, check the tutorial on Fish Donkey. There's a quick 1 minute video that Bonnie put up showing how to measure a fish. And then I sent the example of the giant pickerel I caught and said, this is how it's got to look. So while I was out on the water, I ended up denying that 20-inch fish. And while I was out on the water, I received a phone call from one of the other competitors. A lot of the competitors know that I know. That's the second one. So we'll get into that one in a second, if anyone can see that. So if you focus in on that, you can see the 20-inch mark. The problem is I can't see any of the other lines. I don't know if that fish is dead. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about. Well, so when I got a phone call from another competitor who was a little bit irate that this fish was even submitted in this way, I said, I'm on the water. Let me get back and figure it out. So I, again, got in touch with this guy. He sent me some close-ups of showing the 20 and said the numbers are visible. I said, you're not getting this. I sent you an example. So I went through the rules to make sure that, this fish was legal. And here's what I found. It's got to be a clear picture. This picture is not clear. Yeah. Like, I can't see any of the lines. He's saying it's 1950. I can't go off that. Is it at the 20? No. So I could say, if I was lenient, like super lenient, like, hey, that's 19. But like, that's not fair to everyone else being this a points tournament. And I know if I was in a tournament, I saw those pictures, I would lose my shit. So what I did was, just to make sure, I was already leaning towards DQ, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So I called up the other directors for Chronic Trips, the other can athletes, or excuse me, geez, I keep saying that, the other Nature Nuts. I called Seth, and because of his tournament experience, I called another director I know that I work with.
Yep.
So all had pretty much the same thing, like, hey, that's not going to fly. What does it say in the rules? Does it say like a top-down picture? I said, no, but it's clear. And they said, well, that's not a clear picture. That's easy enough. Every one of them. And for the sake of fairness, I had to do that second one, and I sent him a long text this morning saying, this is why I denied it. If it's because I sent that example.
Yeah.
If I hadn't sent that example of how a fish should look, I probably would have counted it and said, you know what?
Do it this way.
You got to count this one going forward anymore. I'm not. Yeah. So I denied it. It came down to, who am I pissing off? Am I pissing off the one contestant that's putting in this large bass, or am I pissing off the other 30 competitors in this tournament because they, let's say that one largemouth bass point that this competitor grabs, that's one more than somebody else. We've seen how tight these things could be. Yep. That could kill somebody's chances of winning the tournament. And I can't have that. So the standard submissions going forward are top down. Bobby, do you have a picture? Here, you know what I'll do? If you want to, please weigh in on this. I'm going to grab one of the pictures that is the. Yeah, please
go ahead. So I'm going to jump in. The main thing is when it says clear picture, is that it's not necessarily just the picture quality and the lines and being able to read that. Sure, that does factor in there, but your measurement of that tail marking means absolutely nothing if you can't see the nose of that fish hitting the vertical edge of your board. If you can't verify that that's actually starting at the 0 mark and counting that can't be looked at as an accurate measurement of any kind of a catch. So that's why, even though the rules might not state it has to be overhead, you still have to be able to clearly put it in the upright position, in the position, so that you have both ends of that fish measured on a board, so you can verify exactly what it is. It's just one of those things. And to quote Spock, the needs of many outweigh the needs of a few. Yeah, is that the picture you sent over as the example?
Yeah, that was my pickerel. So let's dissect this picture really quick. Yep. Okay. The bottom lip is touching the board. When you're in a bass tournament and any of the tournaments that I'm directing, if you catch a pickerel, safety is first, or a pike. I'm not going to deduct any pickerel bullshit for open mouths. All right. Yeah. Bass are a different story. Those will get deductions on an open mouth for anywhere else other than the Chronic Trips. Again, I want people to learn. It's more important to, get that fish on the board. And if it's open a little bit, I'm forgiving. Like Teddy, I told him it counts. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
But also for this tournament, I had to make sure my identifier was visible. That's not the case with Chronic Trips. Yep. But for this chronic trip submission, the mouth is touching the vertical edge, the bump part of the board, and you can clearly see the lines that the tail is breaking.
Yeah.
Okay. So with chronic trips, one of the normal things I see is people throw a fish on and they don't adjust the tail so that the tail falls somewhere in between those lines when it's the quarter or the half marks.
Yeah.
And I have to tell them, like, look, like I'm not drawing a line on Photoshop. Like, help me out. If you would have moved the thing up, a small fish up a quarter inch vertically, it would be fine. I have no problems with that. So what I do is when I see that, I round down to the next quarter inch if it's not breaking a line.
Yeah.
That's just what I have to do. I mean, if it's clearly breaking it, like breaking the space, I'll give it to them. I'm very generous with these tournaments. I want people to learn. But like that front-facing photo, I have never seen that in a tournament. And that's years of doing this. I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody taking a picture for well, I can't say that because we busted Mark about it with Laura's trout a couple in August, I think, didn't we? But that stopped, and Laura immediately got on it. And she said, "I'm going to do that."
Yeah.
So I felt bad having denied 2 massive bass in a 24-hour span to the same contestant. But had I not sent that example, I probably would have counted the second one and just issued an apology to everyone else saying, "Hey, there's a rule issue. I'm going to change it and go forward," which I am going to be changing today.
Yeah.
So please take the photos top down. I've never seen, like, this was so out of left field that I didn't know what to do initially. Like, I thought, like, when I was out on the boat, I was fishing with Andy, and he said, like, "Is this a joke? Is this contestant screwing with you?" Because during my first conversation, I had actually sent him a message saying, "Have you ever done a CPR tournament before? Because that helps me gauge my audience, and I can walk him through it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he said, "Yes, I did them all last year." And then the second photo came through, and I said, I don't think that's the case. I think there might be a misunderstanding as to what CPR, he's reading CPR is. I don't know. But I want, this contestant's not in any trouble. They didn't cheat.
No,
it's just they took really bad photos that I couldn't count. I want them to continue submitting photos. But I mean, I don't feel I was left with a choice, especially not with this. The first one you couldn't read, so that was no, that was easy. Like, you couldn't read it at all. The second one, instead of being like a 10-degree angle to the fish, it was at like a 45, so you could see the numbers. But like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yes, you can see the numbers, but because you can't see the mouth of the fish at all, and you can't verify, you don't know if that fish was starting at the 6 line. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that picture, it shows that it's kind of bumped up. It is. It looks legit, like he bumped it up. But the problem is, I can't see any lines, and it's just a really unclear picture where I cannot clearly pull the information I need from that picture. So, like I said, I was planning on doing it, and then I referenced what I was going to do with all of the other directors I talked to that have experience with this, and Seth, because, man, this is his tournament, his name's on it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And I did what I had to do, and he said he has my back on it, and that's it's unfortunate. I don't want to deny fish. That's it. And in this case, I had to.
But if you have to, you have to. There's nothing you can do about it,
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, no matter what tournament I'm directing, I strive for a level playing field.
Yeah.
I don't care if I win. I don't care if I lose. I strive. I want to know, and I've talked to other anglers about this. The best thing about a good tournament is having a fair shake.
Yep.
And then turning around to the guy that beat you and say, "Man, you had a killer day. I couldn't catch." God, I was going to say something. I'll say the horrible thing. "I couldn't catch AIDS in prison today." But you did. Great job.
Good for you. Good for you.
That's awful. That's really off color, and I'm not going to apologize. I said it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He's owning it. Oh, goodness. But, I mean, it is the reality. Like, you want to, if you don't win a tournament, you don't want to walk away saying, like, well, there was some bullshit, like, what the hell is going on with this? Or there's such and such a loophole. You want to at least walk away and say, so what can I do to up my game so I can perform better next tournament? Speaking of tournaments just in general, got some reports from some of our friends that were taking part in the Slay Nation tournament over at Glasgow, and I guess out of all the anglers, there were only like 2 people that caught fish. Like, it was hellacious over there, and it was the struggle bus. Brian O jumps in right here and he says, "Can't sacrifice your integrity to keep someone happy." I agree 100%, Brian. Like when it comes to when you're in a position where you've got to make a call and you have to think about about the entire flock, not just that one rogue goose or whatever. So you gotta be concerned with everybody else because you piss everybody off, there is no tournament. You know what I mean? You piss off one, if someone's legitimately breaking some kind of rules or doing something inappropriately and it can be resolved and they don't resolve it, then, hey, you lost dead weight at that point. It is what it is.
It doesn't fit anybody. You know what I mean? It's not one of those political compromises that happen in our government all the time where everybody's pissed off.
Yep.
No, like, I have never seen photos taken that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to make out of them, and we went that direction. I'm going to stand by it. But Seth, this is Seth's tournament.
Yeah.
He has my back, and he said, do it, dude. I got your back. I understand completely. Honestly, I was really playing a lot of devil's advocate. I think Seth was like, nope, absolutely not. Straight up, you're done. He was a little more fired up about it than I was. I was more confused. Yeah. So it's rare to hear Seth get fired up like that. But
oh yeah,
dude, he was adamant. He goes, if you're thinking of disqualifying, do it. That's the way it should be run. That's the right thing to do. We can't piss off all these different people. So I'm standing by that decision. It sucks. It sucked to make. Like I said, the unclear photo last year, that was easy. I'm like, dude, I can't read anything. I mean, do you have another one? They said no. I said, I'm sorry, I got to DQ it. This year was just these two submissions were so out of left field. Yeah. I don't know what to make out of them, but. Whatever. That's we're past it. So please, everyone, Bobby and I held up a what not to do picture and a what to do picture. So take that picture by yourself, top down, showing the left side of the fish, left to right. What really helps me out, guys, this is real. This is just a little thing. You don't have to do this, but this is to help me out. Help out your boy, Sean Fishman, the Crown Pickerel Prince of Massachusetts, if you notice my name tag today. The help me out. When you go into your gallery before you submit the photos, all right, Fish Donkey's different. You're not going to be able to do, I don't think you can do that. But if you're submitting photos to another tournament, go in there into the photo edit and just flip it around. You can turn that thing. It doesn't do anything to your photo. It says modified, but I'm not going to worry about flipping it around. It's not like you're modifying the time, date, or location. Just flip it around so I can see it. It makes my life a little easier.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say about photos. I mean, this was like a rough 24 hours with me devoting way too much of my lifetime and energy to thinking about this shit, and I don't want to do it anymore. Just this is kind of common sense. So that's that. Now, hold on. While I'm bringing this info up, I do want to make mention a big thank you to all the folks that have been listening and all the MAKB members around the state. So our tournament opened up for registration last night at 7 p.m.
Yep.
By 7:15, I think we had 14 or 15 people in. Before we started recording today, we're at 22 out of 25. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to be selling out or close to selling out. Thank you to everyone. It's
first tournament of this division. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's flattering, and I thank you guys for Ken letting me run this, for trusting me to run this, and everybody joining in to trusting me to run it the day we do it. And we did announce too that for all the competitors, please, competitors, this isn't a giant gathering. This is not a house party.
Yeah.
For the competitors after the event, we're having some outdoors because it looks like the weather is going to be good. We're going to have outdoors on the patio, pizza and beverages. Competitors, please. I am not paying for the entire fucking state of Massachusetts to eat pizza and fucking drink on my dime, all right?
Exactly.
This is from, I should say my dime. This is from me and Nelson and Old Glory all together. We are having this. We want the MAKB members that are participating to visit the store, stop in and see their sponsor. Yeah. And have some pizza and beverages on us, and we'll bullshit and see how the day went. So please do stop in. If you are, you got to keep something in mind. If your kayak has a trailer, the parking, there's a good amount of parking, but is somewhat limited. I mean, if we get like 10 trucks with trailers in there, that might be an issue. But just try to be considerate with the parking. There's spots up against the building. Dude, I don't even know how that would work because people are going to have kayaks sticking out of their beds and shit. We'll figure it out. So what's going to happen on Saturday is right immediately upon the tournament, either myself or Nelson at the end of the tournament is going to run over to Old Glory, help out with setup and parking and all that shit.
Yep.
one or the other, probably myself, is going to stick around at the launch. Just make sure everybody's out of the water and we're all good. Leave no man behind, right, U.S. Marines? So that's it.
I love it.
Yeah, so that was an awesome number to see this morning, and I'm just trying to grab an update. Do you have anything you can jump in on here?
I can just cover some of my fishing exploits this weekend.
Hit me with some funny shit.
So spoiler alert, I got skunked all the way around. But I had 2 outings. Did I get out on Friday at all? I did not. No. Actually, I went out Wednesday before trivia. There's a small pond. There's a park nearby my venue where I host trivia. And I had to drop off the girls for their dance class. So I dropped them off, and I had about an hour to kill, and I decided I'd go to the small pond, and the water level's way low. A lot of our local ponds up here, like the water level is very, very low. I'll get more in depth with early Saturday morning, but so Wednesday I went out, and I knew it was going to be a good trivia night because I hooked a bass, a dink, a very, very small bass, but I've never ever hooked a fish over here. And what got it done was just a weightless Senko, and what's funny is I had assumed that was not going to be the jam, simply based on this is all they see over there. You know what I mean? This is all they see over there. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll just for shits and giggles, we'll go ahead and throw this on. And yeah, hooked up with a small. Anytime I do, I hook a fish and then turn it around and go and host trivia. My mood is in like this amazing sort of place, and it's like the best sort of. If I could write that in like my writer. And say like, oh, this is the fee. I need such and such green peanut M&Ms. I need and I need a local waterway nearby where I can catch a dink to at least boost my endorphins. For the highest quality show. So that happened. I don't think I got out Thursday at all. Friday was super busy all over the place, and then Saturday I went out. I had 2 small little sessions. My daughter is part of this modeling group with this local photographer, and she had a photo shoot. Is there any way to check out the standings on the app for the public Rodney's jumping in here. He's asking about if there's any way for the public to check out standings on the app. Competitors, they can check out the leaderboards, but if you're not in the tournament, you don't have access to see all of that stuff. But yeah, as long as you're into it.
Rodney, is Rodney asking about Rodney? You asking about Fish Donkey or the Fishing Chaos?
I know
Fishing Chaos is more localized.
Fish Donkey. Yeah, I think that's what he's asking about is Fish Donkey. So I
think you'd have to download the app. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you'd have to download the app, but you'd have to be in the tournament in order to see the standings. Because if you're not, like, I can't look up the Chronic Trip standings. I'm not in this.
Oh, you can't?
Nope. You have to be in it. So anyway, she had this one shoot in Northampton, and I was like, well, it's super early in the morning. It was like 7:00. Well, I got out there and it was 27 degrees. It was freaking frigid. So I drop her off and I head over to a local college campus. So there's a small pond, and I actually found a topo map for this pond. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap. So I was looking on Navionics. I'm like, okay, this is all right. So I found basically in this one pond, there were 2 really deep holes. One of them was over by like the northwest corner of the pond. And this is a system that's on a river system as well. And then another one was a little bit further to the western bank. I wasn't able to access a certain side of this just because it's so overgrown with woods. Like there's no real access to be able to cast from that side. So I was basically using this drop off as my target. But when I got there, the water was like 6 feet down. Like I could see.
Holy shit.
Yeah. There were brush piles that were just like almost fully exposed. There's along this one bank, there's this riprap that kind of comes around, and that was all completely exposed. So I threw, chatterbait, I threw a jerkbait, I tried throwing a drop shot as well. What else did I throw over there? I don't think I threw a lipless at all because I was only there for an hour. Then I got the call from my daughter, picked her up, came back home, took care of some stuff around the house, and I told the kids, I said, if you want after lunch, because the weather was starting to actually get pretty nice on Saturday, I said, if you guys want to go, over this one other spot where I had fished, it's in a downtown area. I was like, you guys can walk around. My youngest daughter's getting into collecting comics. There's a comic store that's on this street that she likes to check out. So I'm like, you guys go ahead and do your thing, and I'll fish. I was there for about 2 hours. What's that?
You can't just say that and not expect me to jump in.
What's that?
What is she reading? What comics is she reading? What titles?
So she is a big anime fan. And I forget the freaking show that she's into, but there's a book series for this. And oh god, I forget what it is. I'll follow up with it. I'll get you all set up. But they have like the whole series, and I told her, I was like, why don't you do this? I go, buy the first one. When you're done with it, we'll come back. You can go back and get the second one, but only after you finish reading the first. And I'm like, this way you get to have multiple trips to do your thing, and I get to fish that much more often. So this is that pond where I was throwing a jerkbait, and I had those stalker rainbows, like taking swipes at this jerkbait. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw a jerkbait, rip that around, nothing. There were like 8 other people there fishing in this one section, and I was in the northwest corner. Like, I had commandeered that spot. I had a great area where there's a dock that kind of comes out, so I was able to really get some decent access here. Tied on a lipless, ripped that around a bunch, nothing. I saw a guy and his girlfriend fishing over on this one side, and his girlfriend's like ripping a topwater frog, like just ripping that sucker and just reeling it back in. I'm just like, oh man, it was crazy. Nobody caught any fish from where I was at all. I mean, I went crazy with throwing baits though. I threw chatterbait, I threw a jig, I threw a drop shot, I threw a Nico rig. That was one of the other things I played around with too. I've never thrown a Nico rig before. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool little way to customize like your plastics for a cool sort of presentation. So I threw that around. Nothing. What else did I throw? I threw a spinnerbait. After I got a message from Cody Jennings saying, see, spinnerbaits do catch fish, dummy, or something like that. And he's holding just an absolute slob that he caught on a spinner that morning. So I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just I haven't had the experience, so to speak. So, I threw the kitchen sink at him to see if I could get them to bite. I could see that there were fish there. They just were not having it. But it is what it is. So those are my exploits. I caught a single dink, took a picture with it where everybody said it looked like I had some kind of palsy. They're not necessarily wrong. It is what it is. But
I think credit where credit's due. I think you suggested it, and everyone agreed with you.
I suggested it looked like I had suffered from a stroke, and then somebody there had made I think it was Cody. I think it was Cody. From the Hooks at Hoodlums. Yeah, Cody Van Zandt that had jumped in and said, made a post about like, what's this, some kind of palsy? I was
pretty tame by his standards.
It really is. I mean, for a Cody, for a Van Zandt original, for a Lockwood original, holy crap.
Yep. But, we've just to throw a nice nugget out for those people who are at various stages of really beginning to fish or learning how big a role the environment outside of the water plays in thaw out in the spring thaw. We keep mentioning the northwest corner. Yeah. Why that's important, okay? It's important because, number one, most of the time throughout the year, the wind blows out of the west, all right? Obviously, during storms, cold front, shit like that, the wind can turn and come out of the east. But most of the time, in general, the wind blows out of the west. So the west is wind sheltered generally, okay? I'm speaking in broad generalizations. But what I'm not going to speak in a broad generalization about is we're in the northern hemisphere of the world, all right? Of our good old globe, good old Earth, right? In the winter, the way the Earth tilts on its axis, the sun is in the southern hemisphere, okay? We get less sun. So with the sun being in the south, when when the sun rises, the southern and southeastern banks, because obviously the sun rises in the east, cast shadow on the ice or on the water, keeping it cooler. The western shore warms up first because it gets more sunlight throughout the day. It warms up quicker. So when you have, case in point, like I just said, with that northwest corner of the pond where I caught all my fish on Saturday, there were fish schooled up that did not seem to be interested in eating.
Yeah.
They seemed to be interested in being in the warmest part of the water. And it was indisputable that it looked like, I would guess, 75% of the fish in that lake, predator and prey, forgetting their relationships, were sitting there in the sun getting warm after a cold winter. It happens over and over again. It's not news. I'm just going to let, people who are prepping for tournaments, people who are learning about all this stuff, when you look at a map, and it's this time of year, the first thing I do is look at the northwest corner, and then I look at the wind for that day and see where it's coming out of. What kind of negates it is if you have a colder day or you have a colder set of situations coming in and the wind's blowing out of the east, the wind is now blowing that cold water from the eastern shore into your warmer stuff, so it's not going to be as warm. But I have found times in my 10 years of doing all this documentation where I will fish an entire lake in the cold. I will notice a 1 or 2 degree difference. Usually, sometimes it's been 1 degree difference between the east and west side of the lake and the north and west northwest and southeast corners.
Yep.
And that's where I'll pick up all my fish in extreme cold water.
Yeah.
As long as the water's open. That northwest corner it's science, man.
It'll typically it's going to be the warmest that you find. And actually, it's so funny because in this corner specifically, there's a lot of man-made structure up there. I mean, there's a lot. And with that, you've got a lot of rocks, like riprap along those, and rocks hold heat, so like they get that sunlight and then, they warm up and they will hold a little bit of heat. You combine that with the fact that naturally they're in the warmest part of there. This is going to be like a spa to those fish. They're going to be drawn to that warmer temperature. So,
and some of the factors that'll kind of eliminate me from saying every northwest corner is the warmest body. If there's like certain environmental factors that play a part in bringing that water temperature down. So let's say there's a ice cold mountain brook that comes in on the northwest corner of that pond. You might want to look at a map to make sure that you're not getting 33 degree water pouring into that corner, because that's going to kill that temperature thing. And then you have you've now got to figure out, okay, is there something that's going to hold heat on the western shore? Is there something that's going to hold heat on the eastern shore? I know one particular big body of water that I fish with some regularity has that exact set of circumstances.
Yep.
So my northwest thing goes out the window with that pond because now I have to go searching for something else. So that is actually a really, really good tip. A lot of people know that anyways, but I always, like when we talk about tips and stuff, I mean, I still competitively fish, so I'm not going to blow the doors off everything I do, but that's a place to start, I think. You know what I mean? For somebody who's beginning and maybe getting into fishing for the first time.
Yep.
If you're fishing this ice out period where it's very, very popular for people that are sick of cabin fever and they want to get out, whether it's a bank fisherman, kayak, somebody in a bass boat, whatever, that's a place to start when it's cold. You'll have success in cold water. I mean, I can tell you now from personal experience, watching you shit your pants over a 17-inch pickerel in cold water. If somebody else can do that, I'm happy to give up that tip.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a difference too. Like, I mean, it is a tip, obviously, but I mean, it is science as well. So it's not like you're saying like you got to tie this knot on this bait and throw it with this kind of gear. That's what I do. You know what I mean? Like that's really something you've kind of honed. This is just knowing like the nature and how it all works. So
yeah, and so that's part of it, man. That's where. You keep saying, and I agree with you every time you say it, it's part art, part science.
Yep.
That's science. Okay, so logically deduce, where's the warmest water going to be? That's where the fish are going to want to be. It's going to be the northwest corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. What else you got, man? What other fishing adventures did you have this weekend?
Well, I mean, that kind of sums it up for me as far as fishing adventures go. I am making some plans to do some fishing this week, although last night I had a couple of obstacles dropped in my lap that I was thinking Thursday and Friday might be the send, but maybe Wednesday now will be what works out better. But we'll have to just kind of play it by ear. But I'm getting all kinds of amped up and psyched. What else was there? Oh,
Bobby, I'm interrupting you. I am not doing this ever again in my life.
Hang on. I think I know what this is about.
Look at that motherfucker. Woo!
Look at that. Guys, official. We are at 10,000 followers on Instagram. It's official.
Well, let's give the patrons a little something right now.
10K. I don't know why. This man has lost his mind. Holy crap. 10,000 followers on Instagram. It happened during the recording of this show. Holy crap. There's all kinds of things popping up on my screen I've never seen. This is amazing. Holy crap. View professional dashboard. Oh, hang on.
Whoa. This is like, look at, dude, this, you know what 10,000 is? I've said this before.
Yeah.
It's like getting a kayak. This is unlocking the hammer in the Legend of Zelda games, so you can now open up the second half of the map.
Yeah.
We have done it.
It's really, really freaking
I did a dance. We just lost all our patrons because I just did that dance, but that's fine. We're good. We got 10,000
congratulating us. Brian, Rodney, Andy, they're all congratulating us, man. This is awesome. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
I don't know how they could... I don't know how they could type now that they're blind.
That is the biggest, whitest ass I've ever seen. I love it. Oh, holy crap. Oh, no.
This is great. This is good. Fuck.
That is amazing. So I...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I mean, really, like, this is all because of you guys. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, man, what a fucking day. That is awesome. Oh, where was I going here?
I don't give a fuck.
Bank fishing bag. That was the other thing I was going to mention. So I had Wednesday while I was out catching my palsy dink. I had I was putting my gear back in the bag, and I had this little tear over by the main zipper in the main compartment for this bag. And as I was zipping my tackle box into place, the corner got hung up, and that tear turned into a big hole. And I'm like, I've had this bag for a few years. It was really cheap, like a tactical like sling bag I got from Amazon. Just something that I was looking to kind of like throw a small day box in with a handful of baits that I knew that I would use, carry some soft plastics, the accessories that I always want to have with me, a measuring tape, a scale, all that kind of stuff, my pliers, fish grips, I mean, anything that you could possibly need. So I put this bag together, and I use this primarily when I'm doing bank stuff. And I like a sling bag because even though I'm a sizable dude, I like to be able to just flip it around and access it while it's still on me. You know, be able to go ahead and open it up and grab stuff out. And in fact, with that style bag, when they're full, I can take out a box and lay this on top. So, good friend of the show, Todd Grubb, had been doing some promotions and had been doing some reviews on this company called Samurai Tactical Fishing. And Samurai makes two lines of bags. They make their tactical bags, which you can order from their website, and then they make bags that are designed for fishing. And these are available exclusively at Dick's Sporting Goods. So, knowing this was the case and knowing how much he had, he had a lot of regard for them, I was like, I'm going to go see one up close. Now, what I didn't realize at the time is that these bags are covered by a lifetime guarantee, which is awesome. When I buy a bag for like that cost, I think the bag I bought was like $40. It's a sling bag. The one major difference with this bag, and this is why I wanted to see it in person, I took the bag and I walked over to the tackle boxes and I took a 3700 size box. I opened the main compartment and it fits like a glove. It also comes with a 3600 box, which fits in a secondary compartment a little further out. I'm not going to use that because instead that pouch now carries my bait binder and like the additional soft plastic bags that I'll carry and have on me. So this thing fit like a glove, and it is fantastic. The material feels much tougher. The bottom of the bag has this like rubberized sort of like protective coating around the base of it. I just think this is going to work really, really well for me. I'm excited. I did do a transition over. Well, the reason why this is so exciting is because I've recently changed over to using the 3700 waterproof, the Tufftainers from Flambeau.
Yep, I love those.
Yeah.
Did you pick those up on my usage of spinner baits for those? We talked about that numerous times. I told you why I buy those over the Plano ones. I like the Plano ones. They're fine. They've never done me any wrong.
Yeah.
But the Plano ones are pretty standard where they have nothing but vertical slots or horizontal slots when you're looking at it face on.
Well,
and you can't really.
That has changed. Plano does offer those other ones. I mean, it seems to be a little bit more universal, but the Flambeau ones for sure. Primarily, the reason why I wanted to shift gears with them is they're cheaper for being waterproof. And for being they're like versus the Plano Edge, like that's what I would kind of in that sort of tier, like that's what people are pushing toward. So I was like, I think we're just going to go with these. We'll try them out, see what I like. And I figured initially what I did was I bought like 4 or 5 of the 3700s so I could organize my tackle that way. And then I bought one that was empty on the inside. It's just one big empty box, no dividers at all. And that's for like the big oddball size stuff, like the 190 Whopper Plopper, stuff like that I'm not going to use everywhere, but so it can be contained in a box. And this way, if I'm going to use it, I can just throw it in my crate when I go out and kayak fish. And primarily that's what these were for the kayak, because should they get dumped or something or dropped over the side, I don't want them to sink. They're waterproof, they're going to stand up to it. So my practice has been to use 4 of those boxes and then one day box. The day box is the one that I'll keep up front with me under the seat. And this is where I'll pick my colors, judging by, water conditions, like colors and, specific baits that maybe things that have worked in one body of water or not. But this gives me access to them right in front of me. So being able to just take that day box and then reorganize that one box and then throw it in the sling bag or throw it in the kayak and just have it go back and forth seamlessly, to me, makes all the sense in the world. I think it's going to be a good fit. But we'll see what happens with this bag. I am going to do a breakdown of my bank bag because I've got it worked out pretty well. I want to get a little bit more comfortable. And I even told Todd that I would be, in fact, Todd's running the Samurai Tactical Instagram right now. He's running
awesome.
that. Yeah, he's doing that, the whole deal. So I told him I would put a small video together on Instagram and show like the way I use it and why it works for me, and hopefully I never have to try out that lifetime guarantee, but I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, no shit.
Dang, I can't believe
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I know. While you were talking, I was just taking a screenshot of that number and saving it for possibly blowing up to be a poster that I can touch myself to at night.
Fair.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about gear. I had a random gear thing pop up that was a very big positive as far as this weekend went. So I've talked about it before. My typical habits with gear are, if I can get them to work in Massachusetts, I keep them. If I buy something new, and if not, anything that doesn't pass muster, I put it in a box and bring it out to Minnesota with me, try it there. If it doesn't work there, the pawn shops are awesome out there. That you can walk in with a box of lures and they're like, ooh, hello, especially new stuff. So I had bought some jerk baits in Minnesota, and they worked really well out there. Those 90 size jerk baits of a major manufacturer. I'm not going to talk about which manufacturer. And I bought 2 patterns, and worked well enough in Minnesota that I brought them home to see if there was any effect here. And I just struck out with them. And I've been really trying to up my suspending jerkbait game over the past couple of years. But this spring, I just said, fuck it, I'm going full into it.
Yeah.
So I really started, honestly, over the past week, really digging into smaller suspending jerkbaits, getting them down to depths, fucking around, see what I can do. And it's been, Saturday was a litmus test, which was great. All those fish that I caught came off a suspending jerkbait. And those things I was not going to use. Friday or Thursday, I went down into my basement where I have a large rack with a bunch of old lures and extra lures and this and that. I got them in, those plastic shoe storage containers. And I went through that box going to Minnesota. And I said, oh, yeah, I got these. And I put them in my tackle box. And I'm glad I did, because there's some days, you're not going to be able to get 20-inch fish. You're not going to be able to get 18-inch fish. But those, 15s, 16s, 14s, they count.
Yep.
And when the bite's that tough, and that might make a difference from you being, skunked to maybe 3rd place, 4th place, close to the money. So, yeah, I grabbed those jerkbaits out of the box and just on a whim and said, I'm going to give these one last shot, and it fucking paid off. So
that's huge, man.
Yeah, my whole mantra. I don't want to carry everything, but these guys did a knockout job for me, so I am psyched.
That's huge.
And I still have to give the as it warms up a little more, but it's jerkbait conditions. I still have to give the ones that I picked up at Old Glory this past week.
Yep.
I stopped in there. My lose reels came in 2 or 3, which made me happy, and I was looking for a particular pattern of jerkbait, and unfortunately Joe was sold out of them, which isn't a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that pattern, so I kind of went out on a limb and grabbed a couple I normally don't use just to screw around with them, and I didn't end up putting them on because I found fish. I found fish that were biting that one particular jerkbait. You don't, especially not in a tournament, you don't move from that. You know what I mean? So
no,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
If it's working, you gotta there's a whole world of difference between changing out baits because something's not working, and then changing out baits because you're like, oh, I wonder what this will do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Especially in a catch 'em all brawl tournament that. Yeah. You want numbers. You want those little fish. So it was a no-brainer to stick with that. And then, surprise, surprise, the same thing worked at, where Andy and I went yesterday. Yep. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah. No. 100% right.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, one last
fire away
thing I mentioned about the chronic. I forgot about this. I know we were going to get back into some, leftovers, cleaning up loose ends later, but I made a request to Chronic Trips, and they were excellent about it. There was an extra category that added some confusion to people called mixed bag.
I saw this.
I added that because that category takes a whole bunch of work off of my plate.
Yep.
Okay. One of the prizes for Chronic Trips is the 100-inch increment prize. So 100, 200, 300. First person to 100, 200, or 300. Nobody's hit 300 yet.
Yep.
I think every tournament's had somebody at least hit 200. I can't remember if the ice fishing tournament did the cold one, but either way, 200 is definitely an attainable goal. I want to say I was the closest to 300 in last June, but it took me a lot of saltwater fishing to get there too. Either way, 100, 200, 300. If somebody can make 400, fucking go for it. I mean, tuna and shark are still on the board, and I believe Nelson's going to North Carolina this week or next week. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. To avoid confusion, I got in touch with Fish Donkey. Bonnie was very nice and changed the title of that to Total Competitor Length, which makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yep.
They're awesome. They put that category in. They changed it for me. So if you want to see the race to the increments of 100, well, you're going to have to wait for the 200 because I hit 100 yesterday. Thank you, 13-inch pickerel. But we'll get there. So it's there. All the competitors can track that. And Rodney did ask, you brought this up a minute ago before our world exploded. Rodney asked about that tournament. Rodney, it ain't expensive. Jump in, man. It's a beginner's thing, starting fresh. I don't know if you fished tournaments in the past. If you haven't, this is a good place to start, and you'll be able to jump in, and it's nationwide.
Yeah.
And if not, we got Jigs and Bigs next month. But again, the requirements for measurement devices
are a little bit more
how
strict.
The fish are going to be measured. Little tighter. Yeah. Think of it this way. If you're just getting into fishing, start with Chronic Trips. You got a little bit of experience with competitive fishing. Especially with CPR stuff, jump into the Jigs and Bigs. Those two things are going to set you up for organizations similar to or Massachusetts Kayak Bassing, where the rules are tight, there's big money on the line, there's big names in there, and see what happens, But we've got a nice, what would you call it? Our elevator speech? Escalator speech?
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch, there you go.
Yep.
Whatever it is.
I love it, man.
That's all I got, man. That's
Sweet.
my intro.
So here's what we're going to do, guys. This show, like I said in the intros, is going to be a little bit different. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear from our good friends over at Three Bells Outfitters, as always. And when we come back, we will have our interview with Nate Chagnon. Now, one thing I want to preface here is that when we recorded this with Nate, it was late. It was posted one of my trivia nights. We had gotten together, and when we started, and it was a good thing I actually was rolling when I did, because Nate just jumped right into it. So this is going to come into it and not necessarily feel or sound like the typical interview that you normally hear from us, but it is so unbelievably good. And I left this whole thing basically untouched because it's such a great story, such a good story, super emotional, all kinds of good stuff happened for him on this trip.
I think it even One point I said to you like 15 minutes in, Bobby, please tell me you hit record. Like,
Yeah.
Because it was so good 15 minutes in.
Yep.
And I'm like, I know we didn't start. Like, did we start the interview? Because it was just this clip is definitely, as far as the format you have been using for your interviews, is completely unorthodox.
Yeah.
But my God, is it good? Nate killed it. Nate has a story to tell. That's the point of this podcast. And this clip, I think, man, it epitomizes it. It was
Definitely.
nuts.
Yeah, it's really good. So we're going to hear from Three Bells. Guys, stick around. We'll be back with Nate Chagnon after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Jump right in.
All right.
We're going to jump right in. Now, I'm on the short bus when it comes to all things like competitive fishing. So Sean is my training wheels here. So when we dive into that stuff, like you're going to get a lot of the, we're going to get to know Nate Chagnon on the show. We're going to get to know, but like when it comes to, especially diving in with the Pickwick stuff, there's a lot of these questions that I'm like, cool. So how did it go? It's basically like, that's the gist of it. Because everything you've got to tell me, I'm going to be like, oh, cool.
That's cool, man. Because actually, there's a lot more to this story than just how I did it.
Yeah.
This was an extremely emotional weekend for me. Before we get into it, I'm going to warn you guys.
Yep.
There might be a point in this show I break down.
Oh, Jesus.
It was my sister's birthday weekend,
Yeah.
the one that passed away. It's the first time I haven't been fishing at her grave on her birthday. I got a call when I was out pre-fishing that the guy I travel with for work, like Sean, the one I was staying in the hotel with when I went camping with you, he passed away Thursday night, and I got that call Friday. And we used to talk about fishing. He was from the Berkshires and everything. And
Yeah.
I actually told the coworker over the phone pre-fishing, I was like, I'm going to do this for Russ and my sister this weekend, man.
Definitely.
And I went home and just had such a gut feeling. And my sister loved butterflies, and we always put butterflies with my sister.
Yep.
Monarch butterflies especially. And it was like 5 a.m. in the morning. It was still dark at the boat ramp Saturday morning. And I was getting my stuff ready with a headlamp on. And I looked over and there was a monarch butterfly right there. And I just knew it was going to be one of those days,
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you hear stories like that, from people when they're just like, there was this one specific sign. One guy I'm thinking of right off the top of my head, it's a number. It's a specific number that always kind of comes up every once in a while. It reminds him of his mom. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of like my heads up that like everything's going to be okay, or like this too shall pass type thing. And
So
it's amazing.
I always say I'm not a very religious person,
Yep.
but I do believe in like spirits and stuff. So I always say a little prayer to my mom and sister before I go on the water. And it was right before I saw the butterfly. I went down to the water. I was looking at the water, and I always ask them for the same thing. Just give me the opportunity. Give me the opportunity to do it, and I'll handle the rest.
Yep.
And I turned around, and there was the butterfly, and I was like, game on.
That's
Game
huge,
on. We're
dude.
going to go do this.
Man, that's amazing. That's such a humble thing when you're thinking about it. Like, I think a lot of other people would be like, I want to win this for so and so, or like they're looking at the finish line, and like just to have the forward thought of like, just give me the opportunity and I'll make it happen. Like I'm gonna rely on myself and do this. But
I mean,
that's huge.
I was staying in a house with Ken Wood and Joe DiDeo, some absolute Northeast hammers up here. And we went pre-fishing, and I put up 84 inches, but I found this one spot where I pitched in first cast. I had a 1750, and I was like, okay, pitched in again, got a huge thump and shook him off. And I was like, pitched in a third cast in a row, another big slam. And I was like, oh, shook him off and just rolled off that spot, marked it on my GPS. And then I went around and I found a secondary point bite. I found points that were way offshore, and the magic number for me was when it went from, I was sitting in 9 feet of water and casting over the point, and it was as it came over that point in about 5 feet of water, I was getting hit later in the day.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, all right, I kind of have a game plan. And I got back to the boat ramp, and Joe DiDeo did all right. He had a 22.5 pre-fishing.
Okay.
He figured out a bite. And Ken didn't really figure out a bite. So we went home that night, and we were all talking, and Ken wanted to go somewhere else. He wanted to try somewhere else. Going blind Saturday. And I told him I think that's the spot. Now, Ken has placed in a lot of money down south, and it was my first time down south. And we were kind of talking. Ken was like, I don't think the winning bag is there. And I was like, well, I think I can do it. And he was like, you put up 84 inches. I get you're excited, and mass, that would win it.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, I didn't even fish it hard. I think I can do it. And we went back and forth probably a half hour or so. And then finally Ken looked at me and he goes, do you think you can put up over 90 inches? And I go, I am positive I can put up 90 inches there.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, I tell you what, kid, we'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we'll go somewhere else Sunday. And I was like, all right. And Saturday morning, we got there, we got all ready, we launched. I went right back to that place I found. It was, I found like a kind of a channel with some underwater structure is where I found those bites.
Okay.
And I went there first thing in the morning, and man, third cast in, I hit an 18.25. And I rolled out of the spot, take the photo. Took me like 10 minutes. I wanted to get way away from the spot, take the photo. So I take the photo, I come back in, I pitch in again. Waves were a little rough. I didn't want to disturb the spot. So I pitch back in, 2-3 casts later, 18.75. So I'm like, roll back into the main creek, take the photo in the main creek, go back into this cove. About 3 casts later, I hit a 1850.
Okay.
Come out, take the photo, go back in. 5 casts later, I hit a 17, like 2.5, 1750. And I was like, whoa, all right, here we go. Came out. I went around. I called John Ferreira because I was freaking out. My adrenaline was through the roof. We're an hour into this, and I had like something like 70 inches with 4 fish. And I was like, oh. So move on. I was like, I'm going to let that spot sit for a little bit. I'll come back to it. I rolled out. I came around an island, and I pitched up into an island, and this is actually where heartbreak hits in this story. I caught a 22, and I get this thing on the board, and I go to take a photo of it, and it jumped the board on me, hit the side of my net, and tipped the net over and was gone. And
not that size, but I've seen it happen. I've been there. That's terrible, man, that feeling.
So before this day, you know, my biggest fish ever, or bass, was a 20 and a half.
Yep.
So, I mean, I smashed my PB with that fish and just watched it jump the board before I could take the photo. And then in my head, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. And a 22 plus the limit I already had was over 90. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I blew it. I called John, like, so down. Like, I didn't even yell, nothing. When that fish jumped, I just kind of put my head down, was quiet, and called John. I had my headphones in. I was like, dude, I blew it. I blew it. John was like, don't worry, man. It's early. It's probably like 8:30 at this point. John's like, you can do it. Big fish schooled together down there. Keep it going. And I'm like, all right. So kept fishing a cove that the island was in. I pulled the 16.75, filled my limit, put me in second place at the time.
Okay, that's great.
So, all right, now we got a limit. I call him back. He's updating my father and everything.
Yeah.
John's handling that. So I let him know I got a limit. And then I go up the bank, and there was a couple of laydowns, and there was a bass boat in this cove with me. We come to the laydowns, and there's about 3 laydowns in between us, and they're coming towards me. And I go, hey, man, if you really don't mind, I'm in a tournament. I'm in second place. There's money on the line.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, I need this. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I have this shoreline? And the guys looked at me, and they were the coolest guys. They were like mid-20s. They were like, I tell you what, man, you can have the whole cove. They pulled their trolling motor up. They were wicked cool about it. They left.
That's awesome. That's huge.
So I get to the second tree out of the 3 that hadn't been hit, and they would have gotten to it before me. And first cast into that tree in about 6 inches of water, I just got the biggest bump of slack line. And I was like, whoa, reeled down heavy, stood up and set into this thing.
Yeah.
And when I set into it, it felt like I set into the tree. And then I felt it kind of shake its head.
Oh, all right.
And I was like, oh, sat down, just kept tension and back pedaled him out into the cove. Got him into the cove and jumped. And I realized this was just as big as the one I lost.
That's awesome.
And I was just, oh my God, I got my second chance. And I got this thing in. I got the photo. I got it on a scale. It was 6 pounds.
Nice.
And I just let out the biggest, like, Ric Flair. Woo, fuck yeah. Like, I had boats looking at me, and like, he's in the net, and I'm letting him revive a little bit before I let him go. And I'm taking it all in. And I picked this thing up to release it, and I put both fists on its bottom lip.
Yeah.
And just looked at it, and I was like, oh my God. And I let it go, and I called John immediately, and John just goes, talk to me. And I went 22, and we both just lost it on the phone.
That's awesome, man.
And then we had 30 seconds of, oh my God, you did it. You're over 90. You're probably in the money. 8 people are getting paid. You're probably in the money.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, all right. And then he's like, all right, shut up, put your head down, keep grinding, go on. Like, I talked to Ken on the phone, told Ken, him and Joe DiDeo, they know we were in a group chat. They're freaking out. Next thing you know, my phone's blowing up. It's all like coming together like, oh my God, I have a shot. And we went around, and I mean, I wound up going back to that structure, and I couldn't find another bite. It was a morning bite, and I ran to the points, the secondary points, the bite I had found in the afternoon pre-fishing. And I came to one, and there was a bass boat on it, and there was like a littler one behind him that I didn't have any luck pre-fishing on. But I was like, all right, this bass boat's already on this. And I went around him and came in, and there was a little bit clearer water on this side. I pitched it in, hit an 18.25 to call out my last 17.
That's awesome.
I knew at that point, I was top 5, if not more. And then I just couldn't call an 18.25 after that. I mean, I was at 95.75, and it was
that's a bad problem to have.
Yeah. It was kind of, terrible to just be like, I was catching 17 inches and letting out sighs of disgust, like, and just throwing
exactly. You're like, this is trash.
And like at one point, Ken watched me do it, and Ken's like, "Oh yeah, throw it out. Like I don't even have a limit. Like and you're complaining." And,
that's crazy, man. I think Sean put it the best because, so you're a new member of the Hookside Hoodlums pro staff now, and which means
that actually that happened the day before Saturday.
That's amazing.
And,
so
when this whole thing happened, I actually texted Wild Bill. I was like, dude, I got the hat and the big check.
That's awesome. Like Sean put it the best because that feed of the pro staff was going nuts. The group chat on Instagram was going bananas. Everybody's like, "Are you seeing what Nate's doing? This is crazy. Are you looking at this?" And Sean put it the best. He's like, yeah, because we talked. He called me when he was on his way out to fish that morning, and I was out with a buddy of mine out here in Western Mass, and he calls me, and Sean goes, and even Paul Sean said he's like, man, he's like, that's the best analogy possible. He goes, Nate is like a pitcher that's going to pitch a perfect game. You shut the fuck up and leave him alone. Let him do his thing. You don't say a damn thing until the end of that last inning, and it's like, dude, we were like, everybody was just like, holy crap, man, this is amazing.
Dude, that was huge, Nate. We all had your back.
Super proud of you, man.
And now I really want to know, all the people that were calling and texting you, are they from Massachusetts? Because we all know goddamn well with the Red Sox, you don't jinx anything over the years. Like it could be 2 strikes, 0-2 against the other team. Bottom of the 9th, Red Sox, like the St. Louis. I was thinking about this when I was driving today. The St. Louis World Series in 2004. That game was over. St. Louis had their souls robbed. And even in the 9th inning with 2 outs and however many strikes before Folk threw that ground ball, everyone was like, shut the fuck up. Don't say a word. They can still lose this.
I was getting texts like, that's one thing I love about this sport. I've been fishing KBF. This is my 4th year. I hopped into it balls deep in 2018, started traveling immediately. And so I had people texting me. My buddy Mark, he was down there, but he's from West Virginia. He's texting me. I had Jason Gardner up in Maine texting me. I had Johnny DeCenzo. He was down there. Shout out to him. He finished 3rd on day 2 and also got big bass. So good for him.
That's huge.
But it was, I had people from all over. I think I looked at my phone at the end of the tournament and I had something like 30 Facebook notifications, something like 42 chat notifications, like missed calls, texts, Instagram, you name it. My phone was blowing up. I had to charge it about 3 times.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they do the award ceremony and all that. And after that, I started reaching back out to people who had been reaching out to me. And I know I talked to Sean and stuff. And I actually had to call Sean back when I got to Massachusetts and be like, dude, I know we talked, but I have no idea what was said. That day was a blur.
I'm sure it was, man.
So many people.
I asked you if you were drunk. You're like, I didn't touch a drop. I'm like, okay, dude, well, you were just adrenalized. Good for you.
Yeah, like, I mean, I had one drink that night when I got home, but no, I wasn't drunk. It was all a blur. I had talked to so many people. My adrenaline was going from like goddamn 7:40 in the morning. I was shaking from adrenaline. Like it was absolutely berserk. And even like we went to the award ceremony and you know, the top 10 go up there and get their big checks, and that was cool. I actually got to go up with Joe DiDeo. He placed 9th, traveled down there with me. That was awesome to get to go up there with him. And you know, I'm talking to these guys who are huge names in KBF. Russ Snyder's, he came in 8th. I mean, the dude who won it on Wheeler last time it was there, he came in 4th. He was up there. Drew Gregory came in 2nd from Paddle and Fin podcast. Yep. And his buddy actually won it. They tied. And we were all up there talking, man. I looked at them. We were talking. And they were like, dude, you had us out at the beginning. It was a hell of a run. Like, it was back and forth. And I looked at Drew, and I was like, dude, I lost a 22. And he was like, what? Like, you had one on the board. I was like, no, I lost another. And even, like, you know, they were like, oh, wow. Like, so we all did the math. It would have been 99 inches and change if I had got the photo.
Just out of curious, Nate, what was the difference had you in winnings, had you gotten that 22 on the board? What was the difference?
A good amount.
Yeah,
I bet.
We don't need to know.
Heavy the first.
We don't know what we don't need to know what you won, but what would have been the difference? Like $1,000, $2,000? I'm
not sure. No. I mean, probably like, I don't know, 500 to, I don't know, man. It could have been a lot. I'd have to rewatch the live video to see what he won. It's on my Facebook if anybody wants to check it out. The whole award ceremony from that night, and they do announce what everybody won.
That's awesome, man. We're going to link that so people can check it out and see what it's all about. Just see that moment happen. That's crazy.
Yeah, Kenwood took a live video of it, and that has everything. Besides my big bass, it missed me getting second biggest big bass. I actually tied for first that day. We both had a 22, but he caught it earlier.
Oh, no kidding.
So,
man, that's crazy. Yeah. Oh, geez. Dude, what a crazy, like, emotional roller coaster of everything coming together. Like,
I mean, dude, I came off the water and, you know, we were loading up and everything, and you can check out through the app, and then you didn't have to be at the meetup till 4:30. So we're, you know, getting everything together, and people could upload fish till 3:30, even though it ended at 2:30. So we're all watching the standings like crazy, watching them. And then, you know, it became final that I was in 3rd, and I just looked at Ken. Dude, I started crying.
Yeah.
Like, hugged him, hugged Joe. I was like, I did it for my sister. I told them the night before. I had a gut feeling, like no gut feeling I've ever had in my life.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know if it's my sister or what, but I got a feeling we're going to do this. I'm going to do this tomorrow. This is my tournament.
Yeah.
And to just have that all play out, it was a bucket list moment in my life. always wanted to get a big check, let alone two, one for big bass as well.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a bad day at all. That is fantastic.
I said to them on the ride down, if I break my PB, this trip was worth it alone. To catch 2 22s, have photo proof of one. I don't have photo proof of the other. You can call me a liar. You can call me whatever you want. But I know I had 2 of them that day. And god damn, dude, it was an amazing trip.
Son of a bitch. I can't imagine catching 2 22-inch bass in a day. That's
dude, in the same cove. Like in the same hour.
And when you consider all of the potential that there was for that to not be the case, like if that boat, like if they were just like, no, dude, fuck you, we're gonna stay right here, or hey, we'll just fish it together. Like if they could have hooked into that.
So funny story about that boat.
Yeah.
We realize I win and we're packing up and there was 2 boat ramps at this place. And we're driving past this other boat ramp and there are the guys. They're strapping their boat down on the trailer. So I lean out and I go, thank you. And they go, did you win money? And I go, 3rd place. I pulled the 6-pounder off that tree. And both of them are in the back of their boat. They start jumping up and down. They're throwing their hands up. They're like, fuck yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
And we're just driving past them. These are some random people that lived in Alabama, and they were stoked for me. Like it was awesome.
That's huge, man.
You should have pulled over and like popped beers and smashed them like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Sounds like that's the appropriate thing to do.
Dude, it was awesome. Like I've never seen a random person so happy for somebody to catch a fish that they probably would have caught before.
Like,
with how aggressive that thing hit it, it seemed like you could have thrown a baseball bat in there and it would have hit it. Like
you should have stopped and said, "Thanks, guys. I got to buy you dinner." You know where a really big bank is where I can cash these really big checks.
Oh, dude, it was insane. It was insane. Me, Ken, and Joe were all dying laughing, like at how pumped they were.
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh man, that's freaking amazing. Oh my god. I can't even believe I couldn't even imagine like having that kind of a day. That is bananas, dude. Congratulations, man. You killed it. Let's jump into some interview questions and we'll learn about Nate Chagnon as an angler. And then we'll dive more into this as well. So Sean, if you've got anywhere that you think this conversation needs to go, feel free to jump in.
So wait a minute. Like just because it's late at night and for God's sakes, I just watched that Godzilla versus King Kong movie and I'm a fan of Godzilla movies and I lost IQ points tonight watching that movie. I'm not going to review the movie. It's not the time nor place, but we have been recording this whole time, correct?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, that was some gold that just happened there.
Yeah.
So
No. That's how we're starting this interview.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then me coming in at 11 o'clock at night like an idiot. All right. So I got a sense of humor though. All right. So I had some questions and Nate, you're free as you want to dig as deep as you want on this.
Let's do it.
You want to tell us about particulars on your gear or no? You don't have to. If not, it's fine. I got a backup question.
I'll give you gear. I won't give you what the structure was.
Oh, there you go.
Well, look at. All right. I'm going to blow that right now. Bobby, Nate and I talked yesterday. The structure was a circle of 4-foot erect stone penises manufactured by ancient Alabamans.
There you go. That's how it goes down at Pickwick.
That's what I was fishing.
They called it Cot's Henge. It attracts breeding bass every year. They don't know why.
Every one of my fish actually came off the same thing. It was crazy. I didn't even pick up another rod all day.
No kidding.
I probably caught 15 bass.
Mm-hmm.
I was throwing a Z-Man jackhammer in BH Delight color with a Fresh Baits. Shout out to them, pro staff for them. I had the Fresh Baits Scorpion as a trailer, and I ripped the tail off it, and I put it on. And I swear this to everybody, Sean will tell you, from the day he's met me, I've sworn by it on a chatterbait. Those 6 legs plus the claws
Mm-hmm.
just triple the vibration. And I
Really?
was throwing it on a Lose Speed Stick 7.3 medium heavy with a Lose Speed Spool reel that I just picked up from Old Glory.
There you go.
It was actually my first fish on
Home
it.
run.
So that was a 7-3-1 ratio.
Nice. That is freaking awesome, man. You know, I've always wondered, I haven't ever met anybody who's used those scorpions before. And I see ads for them, you know, all the time, but really, I'll have to check that out.
Dude, I love them. Every one of my fish in
Yep.
the Big Five tournament series last year, every one besides one came off them.
No kidding.
I mean, my 4.9 last year came off it. It's just something about it, man.
Yeah.
To me, it triples the vibration and it brings out the bigger fish.
I had a couple packs of those when Nate initially came camping with us last fall.
Yep.
And he's like, "Let me show you my secret," because I showed him a couple things that I do. I'm like, "Hey, this is some tailoring I do." And Nate's like, "Yeah, check this out." And he whips out a thing of those scorpions, and I'm like, "I have 2 of those." I said, "I Ned rigged one of them, and I think a pickerel ripped its arms off and swam away with them, and that was it." So he's like, "No." He goes, "I'm faithful in this." So I kind of, you know, I don't think this is unusual, Nate. Those fish haven't seen that shit.
Well, yeah.
As I always say, you went down there and introduced them to your brand, your particular brand of bullshit, and they sucked it in, man. It sounds like
They responded.
Yep.
It was just from the third cast of the day. I mean, not one of these fish slightly hit it. It was engulfed every time, and I was burning this thing as fast as I could in
No kidding.
65-degree water temp, and they were just fired up.
Yeah.
over it.
I can't.
I don't know if it was there was definitely some bait blowing up on that sunken structure too.
Mhm.
There was skipjack in the area. I mean, dude, we caught a lot of things in this creek. I caught a striped bass or a white bass. I'm not sure which one it is.
Mhm.
I caught multiple drum. Ken had a huge drum. Joe DiDeo caught like a 10-pound catfish in this place. Like it just had a ton of fish in it and a ton of bait. And when I rolled up to that structure, it was on.
That is so awesome, man. I'm so psyched for you, dude. It is so. You know what? Deserve it. We're gonna pour a glass of scotch.
All right.
Not in that
I might
glass.
join you.
we skip the applause button right there to go right to the scotch.
We
huh?
went right to the scotch.
Out of the bottle. That's where we're going.
That's what we're doing.
It was, I mean, I can't even describe this. I know I said it on the St. Patrick's Day live cast, came at the end. That was a long video for those of you that didn't see it. I got into fishing. I mean, I always fished as a kid. I grew up. I went to high school in Cape Cod. You know, everybody fished down there. And, you know, I always had fun with it, but I wasn't really hooked. And I lost my mom at a young age, and it affected me in not the greatest ways. And when I was 18, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my sister, Tara.
Mhm.
And she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh wow.
And,
Okay. Yeah.
I helped take care of her. It was just me and her in the apartment. She battled for 2 years. And while she was battling, she had multiple complications. She was in a coma for a little bit.
Oh God, man.
And it weighed heavy on me. I mean, I was working 3 jobs. I was grinding my teeth. And I had a buddy that when she was in the coma, actually, I had an extra kayak and just a little sit-in. And he was like, why don't we go out, you know, have a couple beers, hang out. And we went out and caught some fish. And that year we caught a lot of good fish, me and him. And he had been through similar situations, not the same, but rough childhood.
Yep.
And we'd go do it at night or early in the morning when we had the time. We didn't have to tend to other things. And when my sister passed is when I really just got heavy into it. I didn't want to go down the same path I did when my mom passed. And I got hooked, man. And it was just from the second you set into that fish till you get it to the boat, the dopamine rushes to your head, the adrenaline kicks in, and in that moment, nothing else matters. It's all you can think about. And to me, that was amazing. That was my church. That was my therapy.
Yeah.
That got me out of my own head. And it got to the point, I couldn't stop thinking about it when I was going to go out again. What new lures am I going to buy? And this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to Long Island, and fishing got a little scarcer out there. I actually wound up helping out on a charter boat and stuff and did some salt water. And
Nice.
I moved back here in 2018 and got right back into the freshwater game, and it was everything I needed again. When I moved back here, I was going through some stuff still, and it was what I needed. And I got invited to a MAKB tournament. It was Fish Anywhere for a month, and I tied for fourth or third. Bruce took it. He had a bigger fish. But it was my first tournament ever, and I was like one spot out of the money.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, like this is even more amazing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Because now instead of just when you have a fish on, it's all you can think about. For those 8 hours you're out there, however long you're out there fishing for this tournament, it's all that matters. It's all you can think about is where's this next bite. It's no longer for fun. And it consumed me. And I mean, I said it earlier, I jumped in, I started traveling. They actually had a KBF event in Long Island that year. So I hopped in, drove out there. Me, Ken Wood, John Ferreira, Mike Elrick, and Steve Scott made that trip. And that was awesome. I had a decent finish there, caught a limit. It was amazing. And from then on out, I knew I was like, this is my escape. So fishing, I've always kind of bonded, when I go out by myself, I'll talk to my mom or sister. They're actually buried on a lake in my hometown. So I'll go fish that lake, and it's like I'm spending time with them and talking to them. There's actually a launch right from the graveyard. And it was just so amazing. I've gone there every year since my mother passed, or my sister and my mother on their birthdays, their death dates, and fished. And this was the first year I didn't go for my sister because I was on the way to Alabama. And to have that day, I had just bought a new identifier from Blue Fox Gifts. And at the bottom of that identifier, it says for Tara and Mom. And every fish was for them this weekend. And the buddy I found out I lost. And dude, it was so emotional. It was so much more than just going out and winning in a tournament. It meant the world to me to be able to do that and be able to dedicate it to them, man.
That's amazing. Like it really, it's so much more than catching some fish, and it's so much more than catching some fish for money. It's amazing, dude. Like, congratulations, man. I'm super psyched for
you. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Day I don't think I'll ever forget in my life. It still feels like a dream.
Yep.
It still feels like it didn't really happen. You know,
Definitely.
Bobby, I thought we were past the applause. Aren't you just going straight from the bottle?
Well, you know, I mean, the more I sip, the looser I get with the sound effects. You know. There we go.
You see, shit happens. You slipped and fell and hit a sound effect.
Oh man, it's good. So Nate, tell us about like some of the particulars that you're interested in. Like, when you go out and fish, because you fished all kinds of different bodies of water. Are there specific bodies of water that you prefer? Like, do you do better in current versus still water, or are you looking more for larger bodies of water to break down?
I've found that I fish my best in two different scenarios.
All right.
I grew up being a current fisherman, fishing the Charles River, and pulling bass. That's where me and my buddy used to go after at night. In early mornings, we'd hit the Charles. So river fishing, I've really expanded on, especially back creeks off of rivers. I've really learned to figure them out and dial them in. I've had a lot of my best finishes on it. Okay. And then the second scenario is cold weather. I put it together really well at the end of last year and won money in 3 events in 1 month, Oh,
it's not bad at all.
I've found in cold weather, I do pretty well at finding an offshore bite.
Yeah.
And, like finding them deep. And Mash P, Wake P, that place, a lot of people struggled. It came down to pulling the limit at that tournament. And I got one good smallie deep. I say good. It was good for that day. Yeah. I got a 14.5-inch smallie out deep. And then that one out deep fish wound up helping me so much. I wound up finding the limit of 8-inch nibblers after that. But that one offshore bite I was able to find, dial in, kicked me into the money.
Yeah.
Nibblers.
Yeah. And I mean, same thing in Maine. Maine was offshore bite. I got a golden hour big bass there. That was 5 minutes into the tournament, set into an 1850 smallmouth. And that was an offshore bite. I had found some grass flats offshore. And actually, I mean, John Ferreira really taught me how to read a graph and figure out an offshore bite. That kid's one of the best offshore fishermen I've ever met. And it's definitely paid off.
Oh yeah, and there's being able to fish deep like that is an art. I mean, it really, you got to invest some time to kind of get comfortable with it. It kind of baffles it baffles me, and I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people are much more comfortable with shallow water.
Dude, it's amazing. Like, I mean, from when I started fishing tournaments to how I fish now, I'm doing things like I never would have thought of. Like when we went up to Lake George this past year, I did really well pre-fishing. I put up like 84 inches, 86 inches. I can't remember. Tournament day came around. Conditions were different. My fish were gone. Yeah. But pre-fishing, I was pulling them out of 40 feet of water.
Yeah.
And it's just something how I used to fish growing up on the Charles and everything. That's something I would have never thought to fish. Like bass in 40 feet, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah.
Like back in the day. But where I've come now, I love an offshore bite. I love being able to look at the graph and being like, oh, yeah, they're down there.
Track them down.
Yeah. The fight up is amazing, especially if you can find smallies that deep. It's a real fun fight.
Yeah, I can imagine. Damn. Nice. That's amazing. Now, this I'm curious about. This is like one of the most popular questions, the one I think everybody knows I'm going to ask. You're familiar with the question or the saying that fishing tackle catches more fishermen than it actually catches fish. In your opinion, you've been fishing for a long time and you've had some experience with what's available in the market. What do you think is the most ridiculous fishing tackle trend that's been kind of out there? And then have you been guilty of using it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, them lunker hunt, like the whole topwater section, like the dragonfly, the spider, the prop fish, like they're all wacky. I mean, like they're not bad baits. They catch fish. I'd be lying to you if I didn't have a spider in my topwater box right now. But very rarely throw it. Definitely gave it a shot or two.
It's cool looking.
That's it. It's those things that people are like, whoa, I've never seen that before. I mean, some of those like old school spy baits, like the barrel looking ones with the two propellers on them. I have some of those in my tackle box.
Some people love those.
Yeah, it's I've definitely been sucked into a few.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. I mean, I look at it like this. I'll almost try anything once, Yeah. I mean, fish will eat anything. They really will. But, Now,
I mean, dude, when I first threw those scorpions, people said the same thing. Dude. You're throwing a scorpion in Massachusetts. You don't see the craziness in this.
Yeah.
And then, I've gotten a lot of, do the pros throw it? And
I could definitely see where that comes from. But it's not so much about the shape. Yeah. It's not even so much about the shape of the bait. It's the action, the vibration. It's all these other elements that come into play. So,
Dude, I would say the shape would.
As a trailer,
110%.
Whether it's a jig, whether it's chatterbait, dude, that thing has caught me so many fish.
Yeah.
So,
when it comes to the shape, you look at it in dirty water, it's going to look like a crawfish.
Yeah,
especially seeing as you're taking the tail off.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't think that's a big leap anywhere. Any part of the country. That's a match in the hatch.
Yeah.
Those 6 legs almost give it like a beetle kind of look to it too. You can make it work. I get it. Some people say it looks crazy, but man, that bait has been amazing to me these few years.
It's performed. You know that fishing, I mean, obviously means a bunch of things it means a million things to a million different people, It's sure there's tournament anglers and you have people who they fish because they're looking to escape the daily grind and things like that. I'm a big believer that if you're out with the good people, with the right people, you can make a shitty day of fishing the most amazing day out with, your homies. What are give me 3 people that you would love to fish with at some point in your life.
Dude, I have a couple. Can I do 3 people I'd like to fish with?
Yeah.
And then 3 people I have fished with that I have had some of the most amazing times with.
Absolutely, you can. Sure.
All right. 3 people I'd like to fish with. Brandon Polinick. His YouTube channel is awesome. Young cat on the elites. They call him the Prodigy. That kid can put it together. And I'd love to fish with him. I'd love to fish with Jacob Wheeler.
Okay.
I think he'd be awesome.
Yep.
And Mark Zona. I'd love to be on Zona live. Dude, that'd be awesome.
You know what's funny, Nate? Nobody has ever mentioned Zona as one of those people. Nobody. And you know what? You're right on the money. If there was anybody I'd want to fish with, it's him. Because I want his job. That's what I want to do.
Oh, yeah. I watch his videos of him and Seth Fighter out there just cracking jokes and pulling 5-pounders. And I'm like, dude, why can't I do that for a living?
Yeah.
Why do I have to go pave roads every day?
Yep. Man, it's crazy.
3 people I've fished with that I've had probably the best times of my life are my buddy John Ferreira. I mean, we've had some great times. We've had times where we haven't caught anything, and it's been some of the funnest trips of my life. Stories that come with it. I told one on the podcast. We were out fishing an all-night tournament, and we were bored as hell, man. We hadn't had a bite since sundown. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning. We're just going around going, Larry, I'm looking for Larry. And like, dude, some lady came out her house like freaking out. You guys okay? Did somebody fall in? We had to be like, no, we're just super bored, like trying to entertain ourselves. You're good. Go back to bed. Like,
oh my God.
We've had some awesome times together. My buddy Zahid, he got me into fishing. I've had some great times with him. And then the whole traveling crew, I mean, Ken Wood and them, it's been an experience to go on the road with them, really go fish bodies of water I never thought I'd fish in my life, like Great Lakes and down south, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, man. That's huge. What is it that you're listening to get hyped up when you're going to fish?
All right, you're gonna judge me huge on this.
Not at all. Not at all, man.
Unless you say Limp Bizkit, Nickelback, and that actually would be more than enough.
In there, Nickelback's in there.
Oh God!
I do like '90s Nickelback. Before they did Photograph and all that.
Yeah.
Like their first albums when they were rugged. I do listen to that out on the water. I listen to Seether out on the water a lot. I do like Pandora stations, so I'll do like Machine Gun Kelly radio.
Yep.
I'm listening to that down in Pickwick. And let's see. Before every tournament, I listen to one song at the boat ramp, and it's how I start my day every time.
Oh,
and
really?
This just shows you how all over my music taste is.
Don't tell me it's like ABBA.
Dude, the song I listen to before every tournament at the boat ramp, how I start my day, is Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good to Me So Far.
Dude, that song's amazing, man.
Yeah, man, I kind of put that together at the end of last year when I started placing in the money and just kept rolling with it. And, dude, I listened to it before every tournament.
That is so freaking awesome, man.
So, like, down in Pickwick, man, I started my day with Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good to Me, and then I went out there and just went immediately to, like, heavy rap, like, screaming in the zone. Like, it was...
Oh my God, it's so funny, man, because like that song, like Life's Been Good, is a great song. Like Joe Walsh is amazing. He's an amazing guitar player. Like,
dude, my mother loved the Eagles growing up.
Yep.
My mother was a huge Eagles, Aerosmith person, and she used to sing to me all the time. So, well, I've always loved that song, and I was listening to it on the way to a tournament, and it was actually the weekend I placed second in the back to schooling bass, and I was like, went on, and like I said, I placed in 3 that month, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is my warm up song, and this will do it.
Yeah. Just to take a step back, Nate, how many times would you estimate you've been lulled to sleep by "Dude Looks Like a Lady"?
Dude, no, she used to sing me. Well, that was actually one of her favorite songs. Oh no, probably a handful, man. But she used to love. There's actually like videos of me as a kid. She'd sing "Angel" by Aerosmith to me when I was a baby.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, man. I mean, I listened to just about everything. I got Tech Nine on the playlist.
Yep.
I got Aerosmith on there. I got just about everything. You might even find a Limp Bizkit song on there. I'm not sure.
Variety is the spice of life. That's what I say. You got to mix it up, you know?
Yep.
Oh man, that is freaking awesome. What now? Now this is actually really interesting. I came up with this question a while ago, and I throw it out there, and I'm always interested to see where it goes because we talk to all kinds of folks. That's the beauty about this show. It's like regardless of what fishing means to you and what it is that you're doing, like I'm interested to see where this question goes. Now, what is your goal in fishing in the next, like, say, 5 to 10 years? Where would you like to see yourself go?
In the next 5-10 years, I'd like to be a well-known name in kayak fishing. I'd like to expand, and I've always loved it. And I don't know, in the next 20 years, man, I'd love to make a career out of it. Yeah. But for the next 5, I just want to keep doing what I've been doing, and that's get better at angling and learning and dissecting water. And really just figure out bites better and become a name that, when people show up tournaments, they're like, oh shit, Nate's fishing this one.
Gotcha.
That's the goal.
I could definitely get behind that. Is there like a bucket list destination, a body of water that you absolutely want to fish anywhere in the world?
There's a couple. I'd love to fish Clear Lake out in California. Yep. I mean, I watched the Greg Blanchard videos, Tactical Bass, and that place has some huge fish. But I'd have to say probably my most bucket list place is Bacharach Lake down in Mexico. Nice. They do a guided trip there, and I mean, 9s are common. 9s are... Do yourself a favor, Google Bacharach Lake down in Mexico, and you'll be glued to TV for the next 2 hours.
I believe it. I've heard that like some of the best like North American bass fishing is done in some of those lakes in Mexico. They're just freaking monsters.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. I actually looked into going down there, but it's north of $5,000 to go make that trip happen.
Freaking love it, man. It's freaking dynamite. Let's talk about when you're out. What's your typical rod arsenal like?
Right now I'm going out with 5 rods. Mm-hmm. You already heard about the one I was getting them on down there. Yep. I just picked up a new rod from Old Glory. I got a 13 fishing Defy that I'm throwing with a 13 fishing reel. Can't remember which one it is right now. And
is that a spinning or a bait casting, Nate?
Spinning. And that's my Ned rod.
Yep.
Ultralight. My drop shot rod, I'm throwing kind of like a no name with a Fluger reel on it.
Oh, okay.
But it's worked for me.
What are you using? What's the power in the tip like with that one? I only ask because I replaced my drop shot rod and I'm curious.
So I fish the drop shot unlike anybody you've ever met who fishes the drop shot.
Yeah.
So don't take any word for what I'm using on the drop shot how you fish it. I do something that Ken would name the Chagnon shuffle when I do a drop shot.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I almost fish that thing like a jerk bait. Like I'm constantly like this on it.
Really? Okay.
And just reeling in like this and just letting it bounce fast. And I'm not out there just wiggling the tip. So I'm using a medium light fast action tip for my drop shot.
No shit. That's what I'm using.
Yeah. So
I'm using a medium light, a 7.3 and it's the most sensitive rod I've ever used.
Yeah. Same with me. And dude, I've had so many people watch me throw a drop shot and just be like, "What are you throwing, jerk bait?" And I'm like, "Nah, drop shot." And they're like, "How the hell do you catch fish doing that?"
That is so crazy, man. Because
it works, man.
Just today, I was out and I was fishing at this one pond where my gig was tonight nearby, and I'm over there, and it's crazy shallow. The water level's way low, and I started out with a lipless, and I was just getting snagged up on a bunch of grass and like slime, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna swap this out. Threw a jig around at a few pieces of cover, nothing, and then I was like, we're gonna go and finesse it, and I was throwing a drop shot. And I was using the nub from Stretching Lines, right? Little tiny drop shot bait, and nothing. So when I drop shot, I actually use a lot of offset worm hooks, like just size ones, really small. That way, I like to drop shot in grass. I'll get right into it and just drop it, and then just bounce it sometimes right in the grass. And by Texas rigging it that way, I get the nice finessey thin wire hook, but it's enough to do it. But what's crazy is I was just like, you know what? This is, as a matter of fact,
he's going for the pockets.
I am going in the pockets.
He's making me nervous.
I have my drop shot weight in my pocket because I cut it off. I threw it in my pocket, and then I said, screw it. I'm going to throw on one of Stretching Lines, one of Damien's stick baits, and I was working it like a jerk bait. And then second cast, bang! This little 10-inch monster, takes this thing. But that medium light, I was like, this is a lot of fun. This is great.
I love it, man, because I've actually had people watch me in tournaments, and I'm fishing this thing, and they're watching me catch fish and fill my limit. And I've watched people pick up a jerk bait and start going.
I think that's
I'm
exactly what you're doing.
Keep throwing it.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that. That's great. Sorry.
So, my jig rod it's called a blackout. I've had things so long the name's rubbed off it. It's a medium heavy, slow action. And I got a 13 fishing Concept Z on there. And then my cranking rod. This is my fifth and final rod, and I also throw this as top water. They still make them, but they don't make this kind anymore. I have the old school Berkeley Lightning rod, and that thing has some of the best backbone in it with sensitive tip, and I'm throwing a Concept Z on that as well.
That's awesome, man.
13 fishing. So those are my main 5 setups that I'll go with.
That's awesome. No, that's that. I can't believe we use the same kind of drop shot rod. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I mean, that's one of my favorite baits. It's probably my most confident bait. If I just can't grind out a limit. And I mean, I do the same thing as you. I'll throw it right up in a foot of water and weeds. Fish it completely untraditionally. That 20 and a half inch fish, my old PB, that came off the drop shot in a shit ton of weeds, man. Yeah. Drop shot in Sanko in a ton of weeds. So yeah,
that's crazy. My PB was like that as well, right? And it was middle of the day, crazy heat. It was 95. It was terrible. And I was on Tim Jax's boat, and I was I was having an out of body experience. It was so hot, and I was so dehydrated. So I throw this drop shot in this one little tiny patch of grass that we could find. And I got a 19 3/4 that hooked up on it on a Hookset Hoodlums wacky worm. All right, now wild worm. Excuse me, Bill. I'm going to get a letter,
or a video,
or a video. Yeah, it could be a video. And it's just I live for it. I absolutely love it. When it gets tough, I'm it's just something so mental about it. I can't believe it. I'm really interested in this next question because this I think is amazing. So Sean and I have had this conversation at length, multiple times. We'll be on the same body of water, shouting back and forth to each other about this one scenario. And actually, I feel like I mess up every time I ask the question because Sean and I have talked about adapting the question a little bit.
Can I try it?
Go for it. Yeah, I was going to suggest you should go for it.
Oh, I get to try, dude. I get to be part of this interview. This is great. Actually interview. All right, hold on. All right. I'm going to make it extreme. We're going to make it Sean the Fisherman style. Sean the Fisherman and Bobby Roast Beef show up at your house, Nate. We throw a blindfold on you. We kidnap you. We throw you in the back of the car. We say, you can only have one rod, one reel, and one spool of line. No freaking no leaders, no nothing. We're not telling you where you're going. So you might have somewhere with rocks, weeds, timber. You can have any and all of your lures, but you can only pick one setup. What are you picking?
I'm gonna pick the loose speed stick. I love that rod. The same one I have. I mean, if I could get anything, I'd probably throw a Corrado DC on that thing. I mean, I've thrown one of them that other people own. That reel's awesome, dude. I mean, goddamn, you can let that thing fly, take your thumb off, and just watch it go. And then with line, I only throw one company a line, whether it's braid, mono, fluoro. That's P line. Mm-hmm. But if I could only take one, I'm probably going 15-pound fluoro.
Yeah, I think that I could get behind that.
Now, dude, in that scenario, if you're pantsless, does that change anything?
No, I think I'm still good.
All right, you doing anything this weekend?
Yeah, I'm gonna beat you in the catch 'em all, bro. That's what I got.
Oh, you're running your mouth already.
Oh, I live for this shit.
Am I gonna have to start looking up our head-to-heads, Nate? Because we might have another discussion, and I don't think you're gonna like it.
New year, new kayaks. Game on.
Yeah,
I love it. So you know the deal, Nate. We need two stories from you. One, and they're polar opposites. One story is the one you're like most proud of on the moment on the water, like the story you would tell everybody when they're like, "Oh, you fish," and you're like, "No, this is a story I want you to walk away with knowing about." And the other story is, of course, the biggest that sort of moment.
I've had a couple of the bad ones.
Yeah,
dude, getting in tournament fishing. I had some rough days, and I used to have some heavy tempers. I was known as the pissed off paddler for a little bit. So we'll start with those. Lake Erie, Ohio, KBF Super Trail 2018. Dude, I had caught one fish all week up there. Day 2 of the tournament, it was a 2-day tournament. Mm-hmm. I felt what I thought was a big bite, and I set hook, and I had bought a brand new rod before I went down there, and I was trying to turn a smallmouth into a largemouth, and I snapped the rod setting into a tree.
Oh, God.
Dude, it was a 10-hour ride, no sleep all week.
Yep.
Traveling, I came off that water. I snapped the rod the rest of the way, threw it in the dumpster, let out some words.
Yeah, exactly.
I had one pre-fishing for Dark Brook Reservoir. Oh, dude, it was such a terrible day. I went out. So we go out. This is where the nickname came into play. We go out, and dude, I cannot find bite to save my life. So it goes under the Mass Pike. We go under the Mass Pike, and I see perch. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't caught anything else. I'm going to try and catch some perch. Whim was a little bit rough. First cast, I put that thing right into a tree. And I mean, I weaved it up like Charlotte's Web. Mm-hmm. So I'm in there trying to get it out. And I mean, it's a rock wall right there. Wind's blowing me into it. I can't get it out. Getting pissed. I think I broke the rod tip trying to save it instead of just cutting it. These are things you learn as you fish.
Oh, yeah.
With the rod, just cut it. So then I get so mad, I go to paddle away. And, dude, I dig in deep to paddle away. And that paddle just bends into an L shape.
No. Oh.
That thing just swooped from the pressure of the water. And I was like, I didn't even know you could do that to a paddle.
Yeah.
So thank God I had a buddy out there. He had a pedal drive and another paddle. So after all this experience, I have to use the bathroom. So I go find a shore, And I step out, first foot, fine, solid ground. Second foot, false grass right through. I mean, it was early May up to my knee.
Oh, God.
Cold. It was like that nasty, like, water that's under grass that just smells like it's been sitting there for years.
Composting, basically.
Yeah. Dude, it was so devastating. I almost backed out of the tournament.
Man, that's rough.
I almost just said, I'm not fishing this place. But tournament day went a little bit better for me. I caught 2 keepers.
That's definitely good. That's the thing about tournament fishing. It's like there's so much of it. I think, you know, just in talking to people who do compete, there's so much of it that I just think is mental. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a chess game, you know, and it's like you can be your own worst enemy. You know, it's
confidence is absolutely key in fishing. And it's one of the things I love about this sport. Because, I mean, you can go from 0 to hero and back to 0 all in a month.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's anybody's game all the time. And it's awesome. My best moment is, I mean, man, it just happened this weekend.
Yeah. I think that's obvious.
There's no doing better than that. And to be honest with you, I think I could have done it day 2 as well. I went back to that structure underwater. First, like within the first 10 casts, I had a 17.25. And I went out into the main creek, and my rudder had 2 screws in it, and the lower screw fell out. So my rudder was going like this as it was trying to turn, so it wasn't turning right. And winds were brutal that day. For those of you that don't know about the weather down in Alabama this past week, we had tornadoes while we were down there, like sirens going off the day we got there.
Oh, really?
Sunday, we went out. We actually launched in a lightning storm. Or it had like just finished lightning, but was downpouring. I mean, we were soaked through our rain gear before we were even done setting our kayaks up. Down there, it's all red clay, so the whole lake was like strawberry Nesquik milk looking.
Shit.
And winds were gusts up to 30. So, I mean, I was in a place the wind was just blowing right up the gut at me, and I was in 4-foot waves and with the rudder not working as good as it could. Ken Wood came over, met me on an island, lent me some Allen keys. We didn't have the right size, so I wound up going to a spot where there was no wind and just not being able to put a limit together, but man, I truly believe I could have done it again day 2.
Yeah.
I can't go back to this place. I really can't.
That's awesome.
Emotionally, physically, fishing wise, I mean, last year I put up my best 5 of the year was 94.75. I beat that in the day down there and broke my PB. Like, it was. For me, it hasn't gotten better than that. I mean, walking up and seeing Chad Hoover, who runs KBF, just have him look at me and me not even like saying anything, and him just going, "Hey, how do you say your last name?"
Yeah,
it was like, "Holy shit!" Like, so yeah, no, it was awesome, man. I wish I could relive that moment every day of my life, and I'm hoping to relive it up at Candlewood.
Definitely.
That's my birthday weekend. So
nice.
My sister will be there with me again, and we can recap.
That's awesome, man. That's huge. Oh, well, Nate, that was fantastic, dude. Really. This is your opportunity right now. Go ahead, let people know where they can track you down on social media, anything like that. If you have anything coming up specifically that you want to promote a little bit, go for it. You know, even plug your pro staff stuff. Go for it.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Nate Chagnon, CH, not SH. My Instagram handle is Shags29, CHAGS 29. Pro staffs, I mean, I'd love to shout out Fresh Baits. Without them, this weekend wouldn't have been the way it was. Those guys have been great to me. They were the first people to reach out to me and willing to put their name on me. And it's been a hell of a ride with them. I mean, I started with them before they were even making soft glass sticks. For those of you that don't know Fresh Baits, they're also involved with Get Bent on Instagram. And
they have really? Okay.
Channel. And I've been talking to John and Tony before Fresh Baits ever even came around. And to have them and to be able to do that down there on their bait was awesome. And I'm going to keep throwing that bait, man. It's been producing along with their other baits. Want to give a shout out to Dead Fish Gear out of New York. Pro staff for them. They're great. You can find their stuff on Amazon. They got a lot of good stuff from lures to coolers to apparel, whatever you need. Big shout out to Hooks at Hoodlums.
Of course.
Happy to be on the team now, and looking forward to what the future brings. It was awesome to talk to Bill the day before, and then be able to wear that hat up there on stage and get his brand. And it was on all the KBF websites, everything. So
that's huge.
It was cool to be able to get that out there. I want to give a shout out to MAKB for really getting me into this, and everybody who helps take care of us over there. And we get discounts from Rocky Ledge, Old Glory, Radfish. We've had a lot of good people. Promoting wise, if you guys are looking to hear more of me talk and I guess tell the same story over again, I'm going to be on Dark Waters podcast coming up. And I'm also going to be doing something with John Ferreira in the breakdown. So looking forward to that. That'll be cool. Kid's my best friend. I can't wait to sit down and interview with him as well. So, I mean, besides that, thank you guys. You guys have been great. Sean, you've been awesome since I met you, man. I mean, I met Sean at a tournament. For those of you that don't know, we got talking. I was working on Cape Cod, and I had another tournament on Cape Cod, and me and Sean were fishing a different tournament together, and I was texting him and was telling him I was going to have to go drive 2 hours home that night, then 2 hours back for a tournament, 2 hours home, then 2 hours back Sunday to check back into my hotel for work. And Sean, with only ever meeting me once, was like, dude, come camping with me and my childhood friends. We'll go fishing Friday night. And friendship born there.
We went fishing. We ate good food. Somebody brought a gigantic ball of hash. It was awesome.
Dude, it was, people were leaving empty gluten-free beers in Sean's truck while we were out fishing, and at least
what the fuck was that about?
To leave gluten-free beers. Yeah. This guy didn't know me through a hole in the wall, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, come stay with us." And
That's awesome.
Then I spent Friday night, went and fished tournament, went home to pack up and go back to my house and get out of his hair and let him enjoy his camping trip. And he was like, "What are you doing going home, man? Stay another night. We all don't mind you." And I mean, we've been texting ever since and swapping fishing stories and going out ice fishing and everything.
Yeah.
So
it's the name of the game. I've said this before. I think I said it on the Hooks at Hoodlums Fishing for Answer show. I was like, the beauty about fishing is the best thing is the community. It's the best thing going on. Like, it's just amazing.
I've met so many people through this sport that have become family. I mean, I know I'm sounding like a broken record repeating the same names, but Ken Wood and John Ferreira, they've helped me through so much in my personal life, let alone what fishing. And I mean, these people have become like family to me. I'd do anything for them at the drop of a hat. And I know they'd do the same. So, I mean, when you're traveling 22 hours on the road to tournaments with guys and staying in Airbnbs, you just get to know each other.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
It just becomes a family, man.
That's awesome, dude.
It really does.
Nice. Well, Nate, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this amazing story and letting us get to know you as an angler and like your preferences on the water and all that stuff, man. We really appreciate it. We got to make some time to get together and fish. You know what I mean?
I'm about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and are you out by Sean's area?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Right out this way.
Dude, we could meet in like Worcester or like somewhere up there. I'm always down, man. I mean, I'd love to meet up with you now that we're on the team. Get Wild Bill out there, Sean, Nelson.
What are your feelings on bull balls?
I was just going there, man.
I mean, dude, I've eaten some weird things in my life, but I mean, if we want to put that as steaks, I'm game.
Interesting choice of words, steaks.
You like that?
Oh, very nice. No, it was awesome, Nate. Thank you so much for doing this, dude. Do me a favor. We want to feature you on the artwork for this episode that's coming up. So just send us a picture, DM us through Instagram with it or Facebook, whatever works for you, and we'll put it together because we actually on this episode we're gonna have a few guests, so we're gonna do like a little collage.
What do you want?
Dude, we want a selfie of you wearing your tied for first place Chronic Trips medal.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. That's still a sore subject.
Just so you know,
it, man.
Just so you know, we were gonna rub some salt in the wound, and unfortunately, the manufacturer of said metal couldn't come through. But we were gonna have another one made that said "tied" and give it to you.
Oh, dude, I still probably would have hung it up on my wall. I mean, that I have kind of a wall of fame, you can call it, in my room that I got all my state pinfish awards on. I have all the identifiers I've ever won money in tournaments up, and on the back it says what tournament was, what I won. I got the medal from Chronic Trips along with the note Seth wrote me, hung up, and now I got two big old checks to hang up on that wall.
Yeah,
big checks are the best. That is just the coolest thing,
dude. It was such a bucket list thing to go up there, get two of them, let alone one that says Big Bass and then one that says third. It was, dude, up there and just double fist two big checks.
And look in that picture,
instantly feel like you grow 6 inches.
Oh yeah.
And 30 pounds. So
in the pants?
I mean, some of it comes from there.
But yeah, in that picture, you're standing there holding those checks, and you've got the biggest like shit-eating grin. You're just like, yeah, you. I'm like, dude, that is like you earned it, man. I'm psyched for you,
Nate. You know what? You know what would be a good picture, Bobby? Have you seen the one where it looks like Ken took the picture and posted it up on Facebook, and it said Nate's first threesome, and he had passed out on a couch, on a hide-a-bed couch, like. Seriously, double spooning the two checks.
Yeah, I can pull it up for you.
I think we should use that one. That one. I mean, look, right. That one's fantastic. That one is literally just as good as the one you holding those checks. I mean,
I got you, Bobby. It's right here.
Did you see that one, Bobby, or no?
I think I did. Yes, I did. I did. That's amazing.
That was that night, dude. I was just so stoked, and I couldn't stop looking at the checks. And Ken goes, "What are you gonna sleep with them?" And I go, "I might." And I laid down like fake slept, and he snapped the photo and immediately put it to MAKB, and all hell broke loose on that photo.
That's awesome, man. Oh, I love it. All righty, guys. Well, hey, Nate, thanks again, man. I appreciate it, dude. This is really, really good.
Dude, thanks for having me on the show. And
definitely.
I mean, man, when we talked about this after the St. Patrick's Day Live,
oh, yeah.
I am so happy I told you I want to wait till after Pickwick in case I come back with something to talk about. Like I said, I had a gut feeling going into it with my sister's birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Stoked we put it off.
No, I think I'm super happy for you, dude. That's awesome. Congrats. Oh, unbelievable. All righty.
All right.
Nate, why don't you end this segment? You've been very good this whole interview. You haven't said it once. Tell everyone how you really pronounce Pickwick.
It's Pickwick, man. I learned.
You are a liar.
I learned. I came in money down there.
You are a liar. So
Actually,
for the uninitiated, what I heard for the 2 to 3 weeks leading up to this was, dude, I'm going down to Pickwick.
So hold on, you're gonna edit all this, right?
Oh, of course.
Absolutely not.
I actually forgot something that you might want to throw in. So down there was actually 3 lakes involved in that tournament. It was Pickwick, Wheeler, and Wilson. I actually was not on Pickwick at all. I fished Wheeler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was out on Wheeler Lake for that tournament. Our house was on Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Our Airbnb headquarters was on Pickwick. When I was going down there, man, I mean, we all watched the elites fish Pickwick the week before. Actually, they were fishing the week we were down there pre-fishing because they got postponed. They wound up having like Championship Tuesday instead of Sunday.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Yeah, they were in the tailspins and heavy current. And I mean, dude, they put up some bags down there. Some damn donkeys. And I knew everybody and their mother was watching that thing that was going down there to fish. And we all kind of decided we didn't think Pickwick was the lake. We thought it was going to be overpopulated, overfished, hammered, and just driving down. The day we got there, we only fished from shore, and we went and looked at, the tail races by the dam, and I mean, that current was insane, dude. That looked like a suicide mission.
Yeah. I believe it.
So we hit another spot that we saw just on Google Maps on Wilson and fishing, or Wheeler. Fishing from shore. Ken had that giant drum we took the photo of, and Joe got 2 good bass. And we're like, yeah, we should come back here and pre-fish tomorrow. And then pre-fishing, put everything together, and I knew from the moment I rolled off that structure and started to find the secondary point bite, I knew that was my spot, man.
You made the right decision.
I knew there was money to be made in that spot.
Awesome, man. I told you that was a roller coaster ride, guys. Nate is just such a genuine, unbelievable guy, puts his heart and soul into competitive fishing, and it paid off, man. I couldn't be any happier for him. Like, he's really, really getting out there and making this happen. Like, you talk about, like, dreams come true. It's like the equivalent of, like, if you're a kid from Mass and you walk out on the field at, like, Fenway Park, and you're just like, it's fantastic, man. So congratulations once again to Nate. Thanks for sharing such an amazing story with us, man. We appreciate you, and keep on killing it out there, man. You're absolutely crushing it. But Sean and I had brought up a couple of points that we wanted to kind of revisit, and I had mentioned the Slay Nation tournament that had gone on over the weekend a little bit earlier. Sean, you had a conversation with Wild Bill about this. Go ahead and kind of divulge some of what you guys had talked about.
I did, and Bill ended up putting a video of his practice fishing out there. He was out there with dude, I forgive me if I get all the names wrong, but I think the practice video, Brutus was definitely in it, so Joel Melendez was in it. Delirious Angler was out there. I want to say Big D, Damien, the owner of Stretching Lines. Am I correct on that?
Yep,
I thought I saw
so.
him in one frame. Yeah, so those guys were all pre-fishing together as part of the tournament, and Wild Bill had actually called me up, I think on Thursday, and he had said, walk me through how I would break down. How Sean the Fisherman would break down a new body of water. And I said, well, what are you doing here? And I said, like, I'm looking at it from, again, the cold, northwest corner, this and that. And he said, well, I fished it once before. He had some luck in one spot with some certain kind of structure. And I said, look, please keep in mind, I have no experience on this lake and I don't know about that structure, but this is how I would approach it.
Yep.
And I kind of took a screenshot, doctored it up a little bit, showing the area I would target and the path I would take to get there.
I don't want to cut you off, but did you draw a giant penis on this map that you sent to him?
Dude, when I sent that, I said, you're welcome for me not drawing a giant penis. And he said, I was expecting that. Like,
okay.
But I know Bill well enough, and I know he would have laughed, but I think time was of the essence. I was doing something, and I'm like, do I want to draw a penis? No, I don't. I'm not going to draw a penis on there. So, but yeah, he went out there, and it was just, dude, that was a brutal day. I mean, when they had that amount of experienced fishermen and only two folks caught fish, that's rough. It's just, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's conditions. That's when you schedule a tournament, you're scheduling a tournament. You're not scheduling the weather conditions around that tournament. So you got to deal with the hands you're dealt, and that's it. So, but yeah, it was kind of fun going back and forth with him on, here's how I break down water, at least with a map and going in, and this is what I would do. And I haven't seen the place, so that's always difficult. It's like, I try to give the tips that I can, but I had a buddy that would call me up, and he would constantly say like, hey, I'm out on the water. What am I using? And I'm like, well, he only, this buddy of mine tends to fish one body of water. And I'm like, he golfs. And I go, dude, this is like me being at a country club and saying, hey, I'm golfing. What club do I use? I'm not giving him any context. Am I in the fairway? Am I on the, am I on the green? Am I in a sand trap? Am I 2 feet from the water? What, you know what I mean? Is the grass long? Is it raining out? What's the wind? All these different things that go into golf. And that's the same thing for fishing, but there are some generalities I can tell. And, yeah, I think my buddy was a little lazy and just didn't want to experiment with different stuff. He wanted to go out and catch fish immediately and use my experience to do so. And I'm like, dude, that's not how it works. I could tell, because I could say, use this lure, and then he'll get angry at me when it doesn't catch anything. And then I say, well, I'm not there. How the fuck do I know?
Exactly.
But yeah, so that was an interesting conversation with Bill. Obviously, I'm sporting my hook set sweatshirt that I got from Bill. We had a little bartering going on. The man.
Little trade of
kayak. Yeah, exactly. The man came to me with a kayak that needed some help. I helped him, and he saw a man that needed a sweatshirt, and we worked it out.
What I'm getting from this is that he came to you with his boat, you serviced him just right, and he repaid you in his own goods and services?
I'm saying
you had an experiment.
I'm a boat pimp, and he is a sweatshirt pimp, and we worked it out.
You're the exhibit of Western Mass.
Yes, when I go, I'm going to be filled with formaldehyde and put up in a museum, just with Western Mass underneath me.
Ted from if you're the exhibit, what does that make Ted from Three Bells?
Isn't Ted? Ted's from Connecticut, though. He can go to a Connecticut museum.
He is. I'm just trying to think of in that terms of pimping one's ride. If you have exhibit that's the host of that show, I'm trying to think is there another show that's got that's not really my forte.
For everyone that's going to have a laugh on this, because you are right now, when you said exhibit, I thought you meant in a museum, not the rapper.
No.
Because you did break up a little bit right there, and I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
Like an exhibit in Western Mass, like the example of Western Mass. That's where I was going. I don't give a fuck. We hit 10,000 today.
We did.
We're off the rails. We got to talk to Howie in a minute. Oh my God!
I just do that for the sound effect. Boom.
Oh man. We had two things to talk about. It was that Slay Nation tourney with them going out and doing that. There was something else you wanted to bring up.
It's funny because it ties right in. You mentioned that Wild Bill had posted the practice video on Saturday. On Sunday, young William had posted another video. It was the season finale of Fishing for Answers, and it featured Todd Grubb. Now, this video, the interview with Todd is fantastic. It's really great. Todd's a talker. He's really great in these kinds of situations. But I will tell you, the single most entertaining thing is that when you start the video and start watching, you immediately see a shirtless Wild Bill with the championship belt draped over his shoulder in his quadrant of the screen for the Zoom meeting. And he's got in a fake grill, the same grill from the stickers, the Wild Bill stickers. And it's not just the appearance, because the appearance is awesome. I mean, he's living his best life. Good Bill, do this. This is all. I'm applauding you for living your best life. The comedy comes from Bill's inability to keep the grill in place. Like multiple times, the top piece ejects out of his mouth, falls on the desk, and he's scrambling for it and trying to keep it all together. Oh, but this interview is wonderful. And I don't know if this is going to carry on into the next season, the FMK question, but I lived to tell the tale.
You made it through the entire season. You're limping from your trip to Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland was a rough one.
But you got several wedding gifts.
Yeah.
And then somehow it came to Cody to consummate it.
Jailhouse style, I believe, is the actual term.
Maryland backwoods style.
But it was kind of interesting. It was really good. I highly recommend you watch it. It goes all over the place. Todd is awesome with all this kinds with these types of interviews. Like he's a great conversation. Like really, really, really good stuff. Check it out. You're gonna love it. But it's a season finale, and I'm really excited for season 2. I'm not sure how this is gonna play out. We'll see how it goes. But good stuff, man. So now it's intern time.
Oh my God.
This is going to take a turn.
Oh my God.
Guys. Yeah. I don't even know necessarily how to intro this, but I'm just going to say that to everybody who's listening currently for this show, you should make sure you're sitting down, buckle up, because this is about to get interesting. All right? We'll see you guys after this segment with Howie. Okay, everybody, this is the second interview of the day. This show is so packed with good stuff. We've got 2 interviews, and in this segment here, let's reveal a little bit here. I'm going to pull the beef curtain back a bit. For the last couple of months, we've been working with another staff member here at Jigs and Bigs. We've got an intern. His name is Howie. Howie's a good dude. We met him through Three Bells Outfitters. We were actually taking a tour of the building, and he was working on, I'm not going to get into the details, but we thought he was working in the shop, but he was actually working on himself, I think was what was going on. But while we were down there and doing our interview with Ted and with Lauren and Derek and all this other stuff, he was sort of lurking in the background, like kind of like really interested with what we were doing. Come to find out, he actually has a background in production. So he had a lot of questions for us, and a lot of oddball questions for us, things that seemed completely unrelated, from any type of production, podcasting, anything at all. But we seemed to hit it off, so we decided we'd bring him on as an intern. He could run and get us coffee. He could lube our knots. He could do whatever it is that you want to have your fishing podcast intern do. It's what we have him do. So anyway, our intern Howie is with us. Howie, how you doing today, buddy? How's things?
Let's get started. Needless to say, I'm excited to see you. So much so, I already have a hard-on that I'm trying desperately to hide.
You're just coming right out of the gate with that, Howie. Great. Okay. So let's go ahead. Why don't you tell me a little bit how you've been enjoying your intern role with us at Jigs and Bigs?
I can't believe my luck. There's been nothing but laughter and good times so far. I was worried there might be awkwardness between us.
You felt that before you met us?
I don't know when it happened exactly.
And then, to my surprise, you made it clear that you felt the same way.
All right. We were a little worried based on a few of the things we had heard about you. Hold on a second. Hey, hon, can you turn the heat down? Do you have the heat on? Turn it down, or kill that space heater. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's my wife had shut the heat off while we had some warmer weather, and with the cold weather over the weekend, she's kind of been kind of make up for it. So it's a little toasty in here. Anyway, it is what it is. Go ahead, carry on, Howie. What were you saying?
It's humid and a little hot. I've raised the temperature in the studio to 100 degrees for a hot flow. I can tell you're struggling with the heat as sweat trickles down your face and down your chest.
Oh, it is. One thing's for certain, you've definitely become quite the prankster since joining us on the team. I know that you've had a little bit of fun with various vehicles and gas tanks and adding all types of additives, including sugar. So, that's cute. Is this another one of your little pranks?
Do you like it when I challenge you? Push you just that little bit?
It drives Sean nuts, but you haven't pissed me off yet. Let's get to fishing, though. Where did you get your start?
I was preparing to spend the winter cooped up in my downtown office when I got the call about a little college reunion weekend by the lake. But I was just a young, dumb guy, always chasing my next high.
Really? Where was it that you ended up going?
The national park. A camping trip sounded new and exciting to the both of us. A little escape from the madness.
What were your accommodations like on that trip?
No privacy. A huge, freshly cut pine tree sits in the corner of the entryway, half decorated with popcorn on string.
Fantastic. I've heard that you're quite the lake trout angler. Were you trolling or casting for them?
Casting.
Excellent. I find that casting takes more skill because, generally you've got the coordination involved, the weight of the lure, the rig that you're actually throwing it on. It seems to take a little bit more. How did you end up making out on the trip?
We spent way too many nights getting drunk on cheap red wine. Nadia demands that we drink more wine if we're going to be stuck in the dark all night.
So nothing on that trip, huh? That sucks.
There's no shame here.
Oh, of course not. Even the most seasoned anglers get skunked from time to time. In fact, I had last fall, I don't know if we explained this to you, but I had a little a series where I was skunked for about 4 or 5 weeks where I had shaved off my beard, and I'm fairly certain it was my mojo that had really gotten stripped away from me. So it was about 5 weeks before I finally got on some other fish, but perseverance is the name of the game.
Did you do that on purpose? Or was it an accident?
I have to be completely clear with you. It was definitely an accident, and if anything, I'm guilty of trying to make it seem intentional by then creating a look that made me look very much like any bad guy in a Western anywhere. It was a combination of the mustache and soul patch that I had left that, to be honest, I think he'll deny it, but I think it kind of turned Sean on.
Very impressive.
How are you so good at this?
Thank you, but it's just God delivered for it. I signed it. It is what it is. Let's get back to your trip though. Were there any particular patterns that you used?
Bright red today. Very nice.
Have you landed any fish that weekend? Would you have caught and kept, or would you have put them back?
I release it in all its glory.
Do you just release trout, or are there any species that you will eat?
You tell me.
Okay. Well, what about walleye?
I would love to get my hands and my mouth on them.
Well, that is pretty straightforward of you.
I think you like what you see because you smile wide.
I do in fact smile when I think of a fresh caught fish, and walleye is on my list of different species to try. Sean's fished with you once, and he said he mentioned that you tend to talk to your catches. He couldn't hear what it was that you said, but is there any chance that you'll let our listeners and the jig heads in on the sweet nothings that you whisper into their ears?
I think you like the idea of getting caught.
That's quite the take on how fish think.
Can't help but notice the smell of you is wafting at me. You smell heavenly, a mix of fresh laundry with a hint of muskiness.
You turned the heat up to 100. What was I supposed to do, not sweat?
That might be difficult.
And you look like you're enjoying this so much.
Actually, I'm not. And this prank is starting to get a little out of hand. How about we wrap this up and get you back to making jigs, fetching coffee, and providing reach rounds?
You need my help. Throw your head back and snort in indignation.
How is that going to help me with sweating?
I want to make you wait.
You're succeeding.
I know that look.
It's starting to hurt.
More so than usual.
Where is it exactly that you're going with this?
Maybe this week will answer that question.
You won't last a week unless you end this prank and get back to your work immediately.
Cool. The ease and confidence you exude pulsates through the hot room.
Howie, really, this is your last chance. Turn the heat off and get back to work or you're out of here.
I could sure use a holiday. Work always gets so hectic this time of year.
You're about to get a permanent holiday.
I look at you in disbelief. I want you to feel my presence. A few tugs with the palm of my hand. There's no way we could stop now. A jolt of electricity shoots through my body.
A sexy smirk spreads across your lips.
Admire our achievement.
What the hell are you talking about?
All I can think of is your nice feet in my hands, and your toes in my mouth, and those boots.
Great. Thanks for taking the time to introduce yourself to everyone, Howie. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you on future episodes.
Biting my lip in anticipation.
I just can't help but wonder, will you be there?
Yes, of course. I'll be on future episodes. I'm the host. Thank you, Howie. And we'll see you around the studio.
You must have been so horny on the car ride up here.
Okay. That was a bit much. Anyway, guys, that was Howie. I hope you enjoyed it. Sheesh. I need a bath. Well, that took a turn now, didn't it? I really don't know what to say about Howie. Let's just say that is in the Bobby Roast Beef camp, the jury is still out. I scratch my head a lot, and I quote Hank Hill often and go, "That boy ain't right," a lot. He ain't right, but he's got a pretty solid work ethic, and he's pretty good at doing the bidding around the studio here. So I guess we'll take that for what it is. But
we'll keep him around for now. But he had you sweating there. I mean, that was pretty obvious.
Yeah, I've never like actually done an interview where I was just like, I need a drink, bad. I've occasionally had a cocktail while doing an interview, but I've never been like, I need a drink and a shower.
What? I mean, do you want to? Is that the guy? Is that the kind of guy you want to have a drink around and let your guard down? I don't know. I'm on pins and needles whenever that clown's around. I mean, he's out of control.
We'll just say this: that after you've had the experiences with Cody, your guard's never good enough. You're just, you're always coming up a little bit short when the guard,
I think, we get along really well with Cody at Lockwood Fishing, but
yes.
I mean, I have a feeling that if we kind of, have enough of Howie at some point or another, if things are taken too far, I think he's got a landing place if we have to let him go.
I agree.
I think Lockwood Fishing is looking for that kind of man.
Yep.
So
this outro took a turn, but let's go ahead and jump into this. So in the process of recording all of this stuff, we had a situation come up where we'd referenced a competitor in the Chronic Trips tournament that had submitted some photos that were questionable at the base level. A judgment call needed to be made whether or not they were going to be taken into use for the tournament or if they were going to be disqualified. And you went above and beyond to try to rectify the situation from the beginning. And essentially what we got after, you following up after the next batch of photos had come in was self-righteous sort of response of well, I've done this in other things using this app and I'd like a refund. So this individual who we had the issue is basically going to stamp their feet and run away, and that's fine. And I think that the Chronic Trips tournament will be better for it, overall. I don't know what's going on with this person thinking that those types of entries to any type of a legitimate tournament is acceptable, but it is what it is.
We know it's this dropout's going to be better for my mental health. I'll tell you that.
It's true.
So if I just want to put out there that when we have a little bit of a different recording process today because of the 2 interview setup and et cetera. And we had just recorded a portion and that message came through and we stopped recording for a second so Bobby and I could blow his nose. I grabbed a drink of water and then I went off on a fucking tirade and I just vented. So if you're thinking of becoming a patron, one of the great perks is that if we are off air while we're recording, but still recording and going to YouTube and Facebook, something like this may occasionally happen and I lose my shit. And you welcome to the club. You get to see it happen. If you haven't seen me lose my shit before, there's your selling point. You
know what? This episode for our jig heads was premium because not only did you get me buried in head congestion, losing my mind when we fucked up the intro in the beginning, going back and redoing it all over again to make it right, and then this at the tail end of well, not only that, but you also got the
10K,
the 10K. Like, what an emotional roller coaster this show has been. I feel like, I feel like recording this was as emotional as the story that Nate. No, maybe not. That maybe he edges out of it. Maybe, Nate, you can have it. You maybe take the lead there, but we're a close second for emotion. My nips are doing things they haven't done in forever.
You want to get up and do a dance now too?
I'm not dancing.
All right. I did a dance. We lived. We laughed. We cried. We danced. We fucking blew up. This was. This was worth I hope this was worth every penny for every patron. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You get to watch this fucking complete mental breakdown build up. Oh my God.
It's bananas. But hey, we got it. We got it all together. We're good. I'm excited. I think big things are happening this spring, folks. So get out there. If you're one of if you're one of the MAKB tournament competitors for Saturday's tournament on the 10th, remember, get some pizza and some beverages over at Old Glory and check out the newest sponsors. Go and visit Old Glory. Great stuff. And actually, I mean, I know that, Joe's put up some pictures of the remodel that's been going on and adjusting. And also, lots of new stuff has been coming in. And he's been getting hammered with people going in there, but he's still stocked up full of good stuff. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So I'm hoping to be able to make it out there myself, if possible. I have a scheduled delivery of some appliances, and I'm hoping that they will arrive, be delivered, and then I can just zip right out earlier rather than later. I don't know. Maybe I can make some kind of an arrangement with the wife. I don't know. I got everything in place over here. Well, hopefully it all goes smooth.
Yeah, I've got a couple little cleanup issues for the end of this, and It's not anything that's going to spawn conversation. These are just going to be some statements, some. As we call it, housekeeping.
You want me fluff pillow?
So yeah, I need my pillow fluffed at this point. So one thing I want to make mention for all the competitors for all of our MAKB tournaments this year, there has been a change made for this year. Okay, as far as pre-fishing goes. Pre-fishing deadline is Wednesday at midnight. All right. So you can fish up to Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. All right. You want to night fish at Wednesday night? That's fine. Up to 11:59. Thursday, no pre-fishing. Friday, no pre-fishing. It goes for all MAKB events, Eastern and Western Division. All right. Last year, it was pre-fish, I believe, up till Thursday or Friday. We have pulled back this year. The point of it is, we don't want to hammer that water up to the day prior of the tournament, okay? That's all of our tournament trail stops, okay? Did not apply to the spring and fall brawls because we're not all at the same body of water.
Yeah.
Okay, so please keep that in mind. And because it's a rule, if we find you pre-fishing on a Thursday and Friday, that's a DQ. And I don't want to say go test me. I don't want to deal with it, but we do have eyes on all of our water bodies beforehand. Okay, so if you want to try and get an edge, you're going to pay for it.
It's helpful
Sucks
to
to say that, but
I'll just say this: it's very.
You know what?
I was going to say it's very helpful to make connections with people that are really good with drones. That's really nice.
Yeah, it is, and it's also good that there's people around water bodies that live there that can keep an eye on shit. I mean, it's just, again, I always drive for fairness.
Yep.
Somebody fishing, quote unquote, as far as tournament rules, against the rules, or illegally the day or two prior is not going to fly. So just follow the rules. We all want a fair shake. Let's be good about this. Second thing, we have a couple of housekeeping items I just want to bring up real quick. I don't even think you need to jump in on these, but just because I know we're wrapping things up. Mm-hmm. You and I have been on top of the merch move, so that's coming. The merchandise store is still currently open. If you want to pick up, your hoodie, your t-shirts, long sleeve, whatever, it's still available through our website. We will be switching over to a local merch company soon. I just sent some graphics over to them last week. They received those. All is good. So we're in that process. That's one thing. The second thing, there was something else. God damn it, I forgot. Oh, dude.
Hit me.
I totally forgot this. When I went fishing and got skunked last week, on the way home, I received a text message from my mentor, my jig mentor in Oklahoma. How did I forget this? My main man, Mike Durham, sent me a text and said, look what I did today, and had at his feet a picture of a 9.2 pound bass out of his pond. And he said, they're still growing.
For real.
And he caught that on a plastic creature. Yeah, so that led to a conversation because I was fishing up in the Berkshires, like I said. That led to a conversation on the way home. I talked to he and his wife. They're doing great. They're surviving COVID just like the rest of us. I haven't talked to him in about a year. It was great to hear from him. I am going to work on him getting on the show because that man is a fountain of information. That man hunts and fishes like an animal, and he's great. So hopefully we can get him on the show to have a talk one day, and that'll be that. Yeah, pre-fishing, what else did I cover? Pre-fishing, merch, and Mike. That was all I had left, and I am emotionally exhausted at this point from this show. I may go take my clothes off and just lie down curled up in a corner of my room.
I love it, man. I was a little preoccupied working on something over here that I unfortunately I don't.
Yeah, I don't think you heard what I said.
I totally missed it. That's on me. Go ahead.
I said I was going to take all my clothes off and curl up in the fetal position in the corner of my room after this show.
Well, I think everybody...
And you were like, that's great. I love it.
Well, it's not to say that it isn't well-deserved. This show has been a roller coaster ride for everybody. You can tell from the comments that have been coming in. You can tell by, obviously our outbursts at different points. Like, this has been a very, very, very interesting show. So, we got some good stuff. Guys, let's just go ahead and we'll wrap this sucker up. I think this about puts the bow on it right here. Go out there.
Put that fucking bow on.
Yeah, catch some fish. Get out there and enjoy the outdoors, man. Make the best of it that you absolutely possibly can. We got all kinds of great stuff coming up. I hope you guys had a good session with us this week recording, and I hope you guys enjoy the show when all is said and done. Thanks so much, everybody. Big shout out and thank you to our jig heads. Of course, we want to thank the entire Hooks at Hoodlums fan. We want to thank our good partners with the show. We got Old Glory Outdoors and Three Bells Outfitters. Of course, you guys are amazing. Everybody, all 10,000 of you following us on Instagram. Thank you so much. We owe so much to you guys for all the support. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and this is going to unlock the possibilities of really, really fantastic stuff coming up soon. So we're very, very excited and humbled that you guys even listen to this show, let alone, put the effort into helping us grow the way that you have. And thank you. Our hats are, well, they're actually on, but, in a figurative sense, our hats are off. So thank you very much. Do you want to jump in?
Bobby, can I make a request just for the outro song? Because I know we usually use our normal song. Can we try to get a hold of an outro song by my request? I know DeBarry will like it.
All right, hit me.
We can.
What do you got?
Can we play out to Machine Head's 10-ton hammer, because that's what we just unlocked?
Probably can. I want to throw this in here. This is what I was looking for when you said that.
When I painted that horrible picture.
No, when you were talking about the rules, you were like, people following the rules, and it made me think of a song from "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia," and I'm a huge fan of. So I'm going to play a little bit of this from a scene here that I think you'll appreciate, but we would have to kind of make it fit right here.
What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? When you just
It's a ridiculous show, but God, I love it. They have done multiple musical episodes, and I hate musicals, but there's some funny stuff here, and they're very talented. Alrighty, guys, have yourself a great week, everybody. Get out there, catch some fish. I have some significant editing to do today, guys. We're going to make it happen, and this episode's going to be available for you Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for listening. Get out there and catch some fish. Enjoy your week. We'll see you back here in 7 days, like we say all the time. Tight lines.